Chapter 114. August 27th. The end of summer vacation was just around the corner, but the coolness of autumn had yet to arrive. She was probably still competing with potatoes on the Siberian plains. Rin Kiyono climbed up the long slope and stood under the huge oak tree in the school. Only then did she feel slightly cooler. There was no one on the field in the distance. She heard from Toru Watanabe that the baseball club had worked hard all summer and finally obtained the tickets to the special auditorium at Koshien Stadium. She still remembered that when she heard this, she subconsciously asked him what a special auditorium was, and he explained it in a serious manner. He was very trustworthy at critical moments, but his words usually made people angry. It was simply infuriating. After a short rest, she quickened her pace and walked towards the music classroom. She had been thinking about the script last night, so she woke up late today. It was almost time for training. As she approached the school building, she immediately heard the sound of various musical instruments. There were melodies from the competition, and there were also several songs that the club would perform at the cultural festival. She listened carefully, but there was no sound of oboe. How rare! Toru Watanabe's skills were amazingly good, and it was directly proportional to his diligence. Even during rest time, he would continue to practice. What was wrong with him today? Did he wake up late because he was thinking about the script like her? Rin Kiyono's lips curled into a smile. She decided to laugh at him when he came. Her footsteps unconsciously became lighter. In the blink of an eye, she was on the third floor of the club building and in front of the music classroom. She pulled open the heavy soundproof door, and a wave of sound rushed out. Among them was the voice of Toru Watanabe, who she thought was late. "I've decided. From today onwards I'm Reina's fan, no fan." "Watanabe, how can you do this? I'm Reina's fan number 0. I was the one who collected all the information and videos. Stop arguing. I'm the one. I've been supporting Reina since she was in her mother's womb." "In her mother's womb? Let me tell you, I, Toru Watanabe, was Reina's fan in my previous life." Rin Kiyono was surprised to see the boys in the corner of the classroom arguing over their cell phones instead of training. "Kiyono-san, good morning." "Good morning." Rin Kiyono looked at Yoshimi Tamamo, who greeted her. She pointed at the boys and asked, "What are they doing?" Yoshimi Tamamo showed a very disdainful expression. "I'm looking at a girl from another school's trumpet department. She's very strong." "A trumpet player?" Rin Kiyono fell into deep thought. What kind of level could make a performer like Toru Watanabe fight to be a fan? The instrument he was best at was also the trumpet. Although he didn't want to admit it, his level was indeed not as good as Toru Watanabe's. He didn't know how big the gap was between him and this girl. "Yes. She's also the soloist of her school's trumpet department. I heard that when she was studying, many high schools gave her a recommendation, but for some reason, she went to Beiyuji High School, which isn't very strong. In the end, Beiyuji entered the national competition this year." Yoshimi Tamamo finished her explanation and clicked her tongue in an unladylike manner. But those scumbags weren't admiring her performance. Then what were they talking about? Rin Kiyono asked curiously. "Breasts." "Breasts." Rin Kiyono wasn't sure if she heard wrong. "Yes, those stinking hooligans also said that they asked that girl for an autograph during the national competition. But they did look quite big." Rin Kiyono's half-asleep head started to feel dizzy. She rubbed her temples out of habit. After a long time, she finally let out the most powerless sigh she had ever let out. After an extremely painful morning, Toru Watanabe washed his whistle with feathers by the sink and washed his face with cold water. Today, Rin Kiyono was like a middle-aged woman who came home from a hard day's work to find her husband and son playing games. Even if there were no problems, she would still find them. After some hesitation, Toru Watanabe decided to go back to the Human Observation Department's activity room for lunch. He couldn't be afraid of her. When he walked into the activity room, Rin Kiyono was eating lunch. Beside her was a book called Master Lens, 100 Advanced Techniques for Filming Blockbusters at a Low Budget. Toru Watanabe glanced at the author, Christopher Kenworth. He had never heard of this name before. So serious? He took some food from the fridge and sat down in his seat. Rin Kiyono ignored him and continued to eat while reading. Toru Watanabe tried to find a topic to talk about. The cultural festival is for enjoyment. It's not like you have to do it or you have to do it well. Isn't it better to be casual with the idea of having no regrets in your youth? It's better than wasting time on studying women's breasts, right, Watanabe? Rin Kiyono teased. What nonsense are you talking about? Toru Watanabe looked at her in confusion. I already said that I specialize in studying legs. Breasts aren't my subject. Oh, is that so? You know better than me, Kiyono. You can see through lies. Then what's the situation with that Lena? Toru Watanabe coughed softly and put on the airs of a single fan. That Lena? I won't allow you to talk about Reina like that. Rin Kiyono's current expression was one of disdain or disdain. In any case, under her gaze, Toru Watanabe gave up on his Reina. He stuck the straw into the milk carton and silently enjoyed his lunch. Damn it, Reina. Even if my body is suppressed by the enemy, I'm still your fan in my heart. Toru Watanabe took a big bite of his fried bread. He stared at Rin Kiyono and chewed vigorously. His nonsense could only be said in front of Rin Kiyono, who could see through lies. She knew that he was joking. If he said it in front of Miki Kujo, Ray something Lena something. Toru Watanabe didn't even know that this big-breasted girl was called Reina Takasaka. After lunch, Toru Watanabe asked about the script. Have you thought of a scene? Rin Kiyono nodded. I want to shoot a scene where the male lead is fighting with a firework monster in the sky. After the firework monster turns into the most beautiful firework, the male lead is seen by the female lead in the crowd, and they look at each other. Now that it's come to this, it doesn't matter if I'm discovered or not. But let me say this first, I don't know how to fly. Toru Watanabe's answer was very characteristic of him spouting nonsense. Rin Kiyono didn't dislike it, but it didn't stop her from looking at him like he was an idiot. Of course I know this kind of thing. She put away the finished lunchbox. Find a building closest to the outer garden of the shrine, and film the fight scene on the roof. Finally, the building will be photoshopped. If it's as simple as you say, I don't understand the purpose of wires. Rin Kiyono also realized that this was not feasible, but it was her first time shooting a movie, and she wanted to try everything. Let's film the scene first. If it's not good during editing, can't we just use it? Anyway, let's collect enough material first. That makes sense. Who are you going to choose as the female lead? Tamamo-san. She should agree to help. Toru Watanabe showed a constipated expression. Kiyono-san. Yes. Can I tell you what I think? Yes. Why do we have to make a movie with superpowers? We don't have enough budget to do special effects, right? What do you suggest? If we don't have money, we can make a low-budget movie. For example, we can use Love Letter as a reference and change the setting from winter to summer. Tell me more about it. Rin Kiyono, who liked love letter novels, was interested. In the last firework festival of summer, the male lead who was about to go on a date sacrificed himself to save a child who fell into the river. The female lead didn't wait for the male lead, and only after the firework festival ended did she know that her boyfriend was dead. After attending the funeral, the female lead met the male lead's mother for the first time. The female lead's mother accidentally mentioned that the male lead had a childhood sweetheart who looked like the female lead, but they were separated when they were young. The male lead likes his childhood sweetheart. You can leave this part blank as you like. The male lead only needs to show his face at the beginning, and at most occasionally appear in the female lead's memories, such as the school corridor, the library, etc. These places are free. Rin Kiyono thought for a while and nodded approvingly. I didn't expect that a brain full of boobs and legs would have the qualities to be a screenwriter. No, I'm just good at survival, Toru Watanabe said honestly. Then I'll have to trouble you tonight. What? Jump into the river to save someone? Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at him. To be honest, I'm very confident in swimming, you should know that, right? Ignoring Rin Kiyono's murderous gaze, Toru Watanabe continued. How about changing it to a heart attack? This way we don't need to find a child actor. After all, water dramas are still risky for us, and adults don't feel at ease. You think it's a Korean drama? A heart attack? Change it to being stabbed to death with a knife. I have a phobia about being in a bucket, but I'm an actor, not an idol. For the sake of acting, it's only right to overcome my own weaknesses. Can you not make yourself sound so great? Rin Kiyono said helplessly. And in an interview not long ago, didn't you say that you want to be an idol like Takuya Kimura? If you call Takuya Kimura an idol, my dear mother will kill you. I'm not lying. Takuya Kimura can be anything. Rin Kiyono stood up. This afternoon, the wind department is free to practice. We'll go to Meiji Shrine to shoot, and find a good place for you to die. The male lead is the male lead. I'm me, please understand this. Huh? Didn't I tell you? I've decided on the male lead's name to be Toru Watanabe. No, Toru Watanabe replied. I thought Watanabe-san could read my eyes and understand my thoughts without speaking. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Rin Kiyono flipped her long hair behind her back and proudly mocked. Yes, what can you do? Toru Watanabe decided not to argue with a woman. I'll find a way to convince Miki before today's fireworks show. I don't want any other women. I don't hate men who are loyal to one woman. Rin Kiyono nodded. I'm the most loyal man in the world. Don't fall in love with me. But Rin Kiyono cutely tilted her head. Watanabe-san, why do I remember that you don't like Kujo? This girl. Toru Watanabe decided to expel her as a woman, and he would definitely deal with her in the future if he had the chance. The two agreed to go home first and change into casual clothes. Toru Watanabe still had to put the oboe back, and then they would meet downstairs of Rin Kiyono's apartment, which was closer to the station. Before that, Toru Watanabe first took the tram to Miki Kujo's company. Without a work desk card, he thought that he would have to say who he was, and then wait for the front desk to inform Miki Kujo herself before he could enter. But as soon as he walked to the door, the security guard immediately bowed to him and called him, Young Master Watanabe. Toru Watanabe, who wasn't used to it, kept communicating with different people, and smoothly got into the elevator to the top floor. This wasn't good. Yesterday, even an ordinary employee could recognize him, so Miki Kujo must have already told his identity to all the employees of Kujo's company. It was also possible that other people took the initiative to obtain information about their future boss, so that it would be easier to flatter him or not offend him. It was all because of his damn charm. If he was interviewed again, Toru Watanabe would definitely say, My happiest days were when my charm was only 8 points, and I worked every day, thinking about how to save money. The elevator reached Miki Kujo's office on the 38th floor, but he couldn't find her, so Toru Watanabe went up to the 39th floor. At a glance, the luxurious top floor was empty. Toru Watanabe looked around and finally found Miki Kujo taking an afternoon nap in the bedroom. She didn't even change her clothes and just lay on the bed. Her sleeping face was like a begonia flower that was about to bloom at night. Miki. Toru Watanabe called out softly. Kujio Miyoshi slowly opened her eyes. Her eyelids were half closed as she said in a lazy tone, Sit up straight. Ha. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe without saying a word. Toru Watanabe could only surrender and sit down obediently. Where did you go yesterday? Miki Kujo, who was lying on the bed like a sleeping beauty, looked like she was about to fall asleep. School. I was preparing for the national competition and the cultural festival. Miki, when the national competition comes, I'll give you a big surprise. Toru Watanabe said with relish, but Miki Kujo kept sneering at him. Toru Watanabe couldn't continue. What's wrong with me? You seem to have a good relationship with Rin Kiyono? Miki Kujo said carelessly. There's no such thing. Slander. Gio sneered. Toru Watanabe suddenly remembered. You're not talking about buying camera equipment, are you? That's for the cultural festival. Miki, you know that every club has to come up with something. We're planning to make a movie. Is that really the case? I swear to Chiyoda that if I'm lying there will be a storm. Don't be so glib. Miki Kujo scolded. It's true. I came here this time to talk about the movie and convince you to be my female lead. Miki Kujo's slender white right hand tapped on the white bedding. Female lead. Rin Kiyono wants to let another girl be the female lead. How could I agree to something like that? It doesn't matter if it's a movie or not, my only female lead is you. Miki Kujo opened her eyes and glanced at Toru Watanabe. At least you have a conscience. In a situation where one would die without a conscience, most people would have a conscience, right? Toru Watanabe saw Miki Kujo yawn sleepily and said, "You rest first. I'll talk to you about the details in the afternoon." With that, he got up and walked out of the bedroom. "Come back." Toru Watanabe turned around and saw Miki Kujo, who had already closed her eyes. She patted the empty space on the bed. "Lie down here." Huh? Toru Watanabe was stunned. "What's wrong? You don't want to? That's what you said." "Yes, I said it. Come on." Toru Watanabe climbed onto the bed and lay down on the spot that belonged to him. He stared at the ceiling for a while, then turned around and hugged Miki Kujo in his arms. "Don't move." Miki Kujo patted him. Toru Watanabe withdrew his hand. After a while, he reached out his hand again. Miki Kujo didn't open her eyes and hit his hand. After a while, Toru Watanabe reached out his hand again. This time, Miki Kujo didn't hit him. Instead, she leaned into his arms. "You're only allowed to sleep, okay? That's what I think. Take your hand away." Chapter 115. After taking a nap at Miki Kujo's place, Toru Watanabe took a shower, changed into casual clothes, and walked towards Rin Kiyono's apartment. When he was almost there, he sent a message online to inform her that he could go downstairs. "Just come up," Rin Kiyono replied. "Huh? Can I?" A female student inviting a male student to her house, and it's a private apartment. "Is that what you mean? I can do that, right? Even though I took a shower, don't I have to go to the pharmacy first?" Without thinking, Toru Watanabe sent the message. When he saw that the message was read, he instantly regretted it. At the age of 16, he hugged Miki Kujo and slept for an entire afternoon. Now his mind is full of dirty thoughts, and his words are too casual. Even though he likes to joke, he won't casually say these things to a girl. Not to mention that the girl is Rin Kiyono, whom he respects. Just as Toru Watanabe was preparing himself for a scolding. "No need." Looking at the simple reply on his phone, he was stunned. "That. Kiyono, Sand, you're no need. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Or do you mean I don't have to go to the pharmacy?" Toru Watanabe carefully considered his words and carefully typed the message. He was hesitating. If it's the latter, should I go up or not? I'm talking about going upstairs. Do you think I'm going to listen to your boring, dirty jokes? Hurry up and move the equipment. Woman, you've successfully attracted my attention. Toru Watanabe tidied up, and he didn't know if he was regretful or relieved. He walked into the apartment and took the elevator to Rin Kiyono's room. As soon as he walked in, he saw her impatient and elegant face. "Why are you only here now?" Rin Kiyono said. "The elevator is so fast, what can I do? You can't make me run down the stairs, right? I mean, why does it take so long to go home and change clothes? To take a shower?" Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe without saying anything. "All right. I'll be honest. I even took a nap. You've made me wait here stupidly for 2 hours. Are you ready to commit seppuku as an apology?" Kiyono classmate, please pay attention to your expression and tone. It's too murderous. In order not to commit seppuku, Toru Watanabe revealed the only serious thing he had done. "Actually, I went to find Miki and persuaded her to play the female lead. She will meet us later. It's the truth, but taking an afternoon nap and taking a bath isn't a lie either." Rin Kiyono had no intention of letting him off the hook. "Didn't you take a shower too? What right do you have to criticize me?" Toru Watanabe could smell the fresh scent of Seino Rin's shampoo. "I only went to take a shower when I couldn't find you. I had to put on my clothes twice. And your nature is..." "Kiyono classmate, this dress is so beautiful. But how should I put it? With your figure and appearance, you look good no matter what you wear." Rin Kiyono, who was interrupted, looked down at the clothes she had just changed into. It was an apricot-colored sleeveless shirt and a water blue knee-length skirt. Rin Kiyono opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but Toru Watanabe beat her to it. But it's troublesome. You're so beautiful, and there will be a lot of people watching the fireworks tonight. I'll be very worried about you. Don't leave my side when the time comes. Rin Kiyono opened her mouth but swallowed her words. She looked at the tripod, the microphone, and the small slide rail. Then she glanced at Toru Watanabe. Go and get it. Yes, Minister. Rin Kiyono, who had waited for 2 hours, finally calmed down. The two of them took their respective equipment and left the apartment. The tram rattled as it moved forward. On the main line from Shiya Station to Meiji Shrine Waiyuan, the scenery of Shinjuku gradually passed by. Toru Watanabe, who was hugging the tripod and the microphone like a soldier hugging a rifle, was constantly dealing with the curious gazes of the other people in the carriage. Next to him, there was a child who couldn't walk yet. He raised his big face and widened his bright round eyes. He reached out to take the microphone. His mother, who was holding the child, was wiping the saliva from his mouth. I think we need to hire a chauffeur, Toru Watanabe suddenly said with a serious face. No need. Rin Kiyono was using her phone to search for Meiji Shrine Waiyuan, to see if she could find any information about a suitable filming location. After all, I'm the male lead, not a chauffeur. When filming, someone has to hold the microphone, right? Toru Watanabe just wanted to find a chauffeur. He already had a person in mind. Osamu Kanai or Keisuke Saito would be chosen. Do you think I didn't think of that? You don't have any lines in this scene, so you won't need the microphone. Then why did you ask me to bring it out? You don't have any lines, but the female lead does. When the time comes, you'll have to do a part-time chauffeur. Rin Kiyono seriously looked at the pictures of the apricot trees on her phone and said bluntly, if you always think about dirty things all day long, no matter how smart you are, you'll be eliminated by society, Watanabe-san. You've wronged me, Kiyono-san. I have 7 hours of sleep every day, not including the afternoon nap. That is to say, at least 7 hours. I don't think about those things. Rin Kiyono raised her head and looked at him indifferently. After a brief conversation, the two fell into silence again. The child on the side gave up taking the microphone and reached for the long pole. Toru Watanabe subconsciously hugged the equipment tighter. Damn it, he didn't even hug Miki Kujo so tightly. Next stop, Shinonocho, Shinonocho. The arrival announcement came from the loudspeaker. The two got off the tram amidst the crying of the child who was patted by his mother. Outside the station were all modern high-rise buildings. It was hard to imagine that there would be a beautiful garden in front of them. Watanabe-san, do you want to die here? Rin Kiyono pointed at the zebra crossing in front of them. I already said that the one who died was the male lead. Not me. Also, if someone died on the zebra crossing at the intersection, will the fireworks festival really be held as usual? Well, you have a point. Then we'll have to find a remote place to let you die. I already said that it wasn't me. Toru Watanabe said helplessly. He decided that when the movie was finished, no matter what, he would have Rin Kiyono personally record a sentence. An actor is an actor, and has nothing to do with any real person. It's purely a coincidence that the name is the same. After walking under the sun for a short while, they saw a blue sign with the words Meiji Shrine Waiyuan written on it. When they walked in, they immediately saw a sign with the time of the evening's fireworks festival, sponsors, and sightseeing spots. There were many people inside, and there were even police officers commanding the order. It was still early for the fireworks festival. Groups of families and couples were taking photos under the shrine's ginkgo path and buying food from the newly set up stalls. The summer ginkgo trees were green, and tall and sturdy stood side by side on both sides of the path. The ginkgo trees were luxuriant, and the sunlight couldn't penetrate the top of the trees. Only fragments of light fell on the ground. There are too many people. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly, and the mottled sunlight greedily kissed her perfect side profile. Looking directly at this painting didn't do him any good. Toru Watanabe looked away from her face and said, Of course. After all, it's the last fireworks festival of summer. Let's look around and see if we can find the path with the least people. It doesn't matter if we can't see the fireworks. In short, we'll let you die without anyone caring. What kind of person is Toru Watanabe? His brain is so abnormal that he would run to a deserted path. Rin Kiyono listened to Toru Watanabe's words, which sounded like he was talking to himself, but he was actually ridiculing her. She couldn't help but smile. She said with a faint smile, "Although I've never been in a relationship, I know that couples in the honeymoon period will desperately try to avoid the crowd and deliberately go to remote places, right?" Toru Watanabe looked at her in surprise. "What's wrong?" Rin Kiyono looked back at him with a puzzled expression. "You deliberately suggested to go to a deserted path. Do you want to create the atmosphere of a couple with me? I admit that when I'm alone with you, I occasionally have unhealthy thoughts. But as a professional actress, I have enough manners. I won't film with." Rin Kiyono took the DSLR and turned around to walk to a deserted place. "Hey, don't go. I'm not done yet." "Wait, I'm not familiar with this place." "No, I said that I'll protect you, Kiyono-san." Department head. The two of them walked and stopped for a while before finally arriving at a narrow path covered in fallen leaves. There was not a single person in sight. Rin Kiyono looked around and nodded with satisfaction. "This way, Watanabe-san." She waved her hand lightly. "I told you not to leave my side. I have to protect you." Toru Watanabe, who was carrying equipment on his shoulders, walked over from a distance. "I'll be careful." Rin Kiyono nodded. "Hurry up and put your things away. I'm going to try different shooting angles. By the way, do you have Miki Kujo's photos?" "Photos? Yeah. No. What do you need them for?" "They're useful. Ask her for one now. Hurry up." "How troublesome." Toru Watanabe put away the tripod and long pole microphone and sent a message to Miki Kujo on his cell phone. "Give me a photo of you. Question mark. Question mark. It's useful. Did you get it?" Rin Kiyono adjusted the parameters of the DSLR. "No." Just as he finished speaking, his cell phone rang and a photo popped up on the screen. The deserted path fell into silence. She was probably sitting on a chair. Her legs were slender and straight, and one of her black socks was taken off. Her fingernails, which were usually hidden in the socks, were neatly trimmed and beautiful. Her legs, which were impossible to move, were sticking out from under the skirt that was about to slide down. But the skirt would not really slide down because it was a photo. Even if there was a follow-up, it would not be visible in the photo. Toru Watanabe slowly looked at Rin Kiyono. She was pinching the bridge of her beautiful nose, and her closed eyes seemed to be in pain. While Rin Kiyono was not paying attention, Toru Watanabe quickly clicked on Save and Delete Record, and then sent a voice message to Miki Kujo. "What are you doing in broad daylight? I don't want this kind of photo. I want a normal photo." Rin Kiyono let out a long sigh and slowly opened her beautiful eyes, as if she had seen the ugliest side of human nature. She muttered to herself, "This is unbelievable." She shook her head lightly as she spoke, as if she was deleting the leg photo from her memory. "Uh-huh." Toru Watanabe coughed lightly. "I'm a leg researcher. In order to support my career, it's reasonable for my girlfriend to occasionally give me experimental materials, right?" Rin Kiyono pressed down on her skirt, turned around slightly, and looked at him warily. Even Toru Watanabe was a little embarrassed. If this went on, he would become a pervert in Rin Kiyono's eyes. Just as he was trying to think of a way to save his image, Kujio Miki sent him a picture of her normal life with the caption, "You have so many requests. Aren't you satisfied with socks and a picture of your legs?" The text of the. Toru Watanabe quickly deleted the text. With this interruption, he was too lazy to save his image. After all, distance tests a horse's strength, and time reveals a person's heart. After getting along with him for a long time, Rin Kiyono would realize that he was indeed a righteous person. The photo is almost here. What's next, director? Stand here and look at the photo with your best expression. You must have a faint trace of longing. Rin Kiyono loosened her grip on her skirt and pointed at a spot in the shade where a ray of sunlight shone. Looking at your current girlfriend's photo, you're actually thinking of your childhood sweetheart? Toru Watanabe's gaze swept past Rin Kiyono's swaying skirt, quickly glanced at her legs, and then retracted his gaze. Looks like you still have your last shred of rationality. Rin Kiyono nodded in satisfaction. What do you take me for? A pervert? Wait, let's not talk about the fact that it was for research. She sent it to me without permission. My girlfriend's legs are also perverted? That doesn't make sense. Where were you looking at just now? Rin Kiyono, who had a warm expression, suddenly sneered. So you've noticed. Is it nice? Toru Watanabe had never faced such a difficult multiple-choice question before. But when he thought about how Rin Kiyono could see through his lies, there was nothing to be troubled about. It's nice. He nodded from the bottom of his heart. His heart was pure, and he definitely wasn't acting like a hooligan. Heh. Rin Kiyono sneered. From now on you must absolutely follow my instructions. If I'm not satisfied, the traffic police on the way here will take you away. You actually used your body to seduce me? That's despicable. Toru Watanabe couldn't count how many of his weaknesses were in Rin Kiyono's hands. Toru Watanabe, with the mentality of an actress who had her indecent photo taken, began shooting the first act of the movie that was about to be broadcast at the cultural festival under the guidance of the evil director Rin Kiyono. Following the instructions, he deliberately let the sun shine on his face. He looked down at the photo in his hand. It was a photo of Miki Kujo's daily life. Expression. Toru Watanabe pondered for a moment. He missed his hometown in Iwate Prefecture. He thought of his parents who braved the wind to harvest their crops, so that they wouldn't be blown away by the strong wind. His eyes became slightly moist as he missed her. He zoomed in on the photo until only his face was visible. He stared blankly at the girl. 5 seconds later, he suddenly shrunk the photo and put away his phone. He put his hands in his pockets and closed his eyes, allowing the sun to shine on his face. Rin Kiyono recorded this scene with the camera. In the Meiji Shrine Yuan, amidst the noise of people's brains, the expressionless handsome boy wearing a white shirt and sports shoes had his hair messed up by the wind. Chapter 116. What do you think? Toru Watanabe calmed himself down and asked curiously. Rin Kiyono watched it again and nodded. As expected of Watanabe, who is full of lies. His acting skills are worthy of praise. I feel like you're scolding me. Are you dissatisfied with anything? No, not at all. I'm very happy that my acting skills are praised. Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at Toru Watanabe, who was speaking insincerely, and clicked on the video she had just taken. Watch it. Toru Watanabe moved his head closer, and was about to watch when something unexpected happened. The wind in the forest blew Rin Kiyono's hair, giving him a very comfortable fragrance. Toru Watanabe's eyes couldn't help but move to the side of the girl's face. Her skin was white, and her bright eyes were focused. Her long black hair, which had just been washed, was swaying gently without any weight. A minute of the scene quickly passed. What do you think? Rin Kiyono raised her head and asked softly, but just happened to meet Toru Watanabe's gaze. The two of them were very close. Her own hair, which was blown by the wind, occasionally slid over Toru Watanabe's tight muscles and beautiful slender arms. Are you sure you want to use this shot? Toru Watanabe stood up straight and took 2 steps away from the girl. The noise of the distant shrine stadium faintly returned to their ears. Is there a problem? Rin Kiyono brushed away the long hair that had fallen over her shoulder, and unconsciously peeked at Toru Watanabe's arm. Looking at it up close, his arm was actually so thick, and his whole body looked thin. Compared to making a movie, I suddenly feel that making a photo album might be able to make a lot of money. Rin Kiyono was stunned for a moment. After calming down, she said in a bad mood, Please, there's a limit to your narcissism, Mr. Toru Watanabe. This is confidence, just like how you think that everyone likes you, Miss Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono sneered and turned to leave. Where are you going? Toru Watanabe smugly looked at her back as she walked away. Being able to gain the upper hand in a conversation with Rin Kiyono gave him a great sense of accomplishment. He didn't know if other people felt the same way, but at least he felt the same way. Police! Wait. Toru Watanabe hurriedly chased after him, but after taking 2 steps, he remembered that there was a tripod and a long pole microphone at the side, so he ran back to get it. By the time he caught up with Rin Kiyono, she had already walked out of the dark and secluded path. Kiyono, San Kiyono-sama, Sama minister, just one sentence, just one sentence. Rin Kiyono stood in place and looked at him. Just one sentence. Say it. Then 2 sentences. Before Toru Watanabe could finish his words, Rin Kiyono continued to walk away without looking back. Wrong, wrong, really wrong. I'm narcissistic, I'm talking nonsense, I'm not taking photos anymore. Toru Watanabe followed Rin Kiyono like a mangy dog that wouldn't let go of a swan. Rin Kiyono didn't stop until she walked into the shade of a tree. She glanced at Toru Watanabe, who was pretending to be pitiful, and said bluntly, I'm thirsty, buy me a bottle of water. No problem, but about calling the police. What do you think? Did I say that I want to call the police? Rin Kiyono looked at him in confusion. You lied to me. I never lie. Go ahead. After saying that casually, Rin Kiyono sat down on a bench and pointed the sheet at the police who were maintaining order in the distance, as well as the crowd that was entering the stadium. Toru Watanabe was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Because Rin Kiyono never lied for a moment, he actually thought that she was going to call the police. However, it was also because he felt that he had done a little too much. Helping Rin Kiyono buy water was something that he had promised, and Toru Watanabe wasn't going to go back on his word. Nearby, there was a white vending machine with the words winning rate, 7%, written on it. Toru Watanabe took out his wallet. There was only a 100 renminbi coin in it, so he had no choice but to put in a 1,000 renminbi note, and buy a bottle of oolong tea and a soda. The change jingled as it fell. There was no doubt that he didn't win the prize. If the probability of winning was 7%, then he, Toru Watanabe, wouldn't have left the system half abandoned there. It was wrong to think that way. If he wasn't worried about being discovered by Miki Kujo, he would have broken through the human limit, selling fruit knives and cosmetics. Too slow, Rin Kiyono complained. I got lost on the road of life for a while. Toru Watanabe handed her the oolong tea that was already covered with water droplets, and sat down on the bench. The two of them walked under the sun for a long time and were thirsty, so they immediately drank. Rin Kiyono, who had replenished her water, had a satisfied look on her face as she put aside the bottle that still had more than half of the liquid left. She picked up the SLR again, aimed the lens at the dense crowd, and continued to shoot. In the distance, in the red sunset, there were airplane clouds flying across the sky. Toru Watanabe, who was sitting under the shade of a summer tree, gestured towards the soda bottle in the air. He imagined the airplane flying into the bottle, and then took a sip of the soda as if he was tasting the airplane. The two of them sat on the bench until the female lead, Miki Kujo, came on stage. She was wearing a long black dress with a belt tightly wrapped around her waist, highlighting her tight waist. She looked like a demoness in the dark night, slowly and gracefully walking towards them. Toru Watanabe felt that this dress was very suitable for his research, but Rin Kiyono frowned. This dress is too different from the image. Then change the female lead to my image. Miki Kujo said domineering words that were very suitable for her image. Since you agreed to act, please follow the script. That depends on the script. Miki Kujo sneered. Rin Kiyono's face was cold as she took out the script wrapped in a transparent book cover from her woven bag, and handed it to Miki Kujo. Miki Kujo casually glanced at it and chuckled. Plagiarism? She had never read Love Letter before, but when they were taking an afternoon nap on the same bed, Toru Watanabe, who didn't sleep, told her about the origin of the script. This is a cultural festival for high school students. The band section plays music that costs money, the drama section rehearses a popular play, and the human observation section adapts a popular movie. Is there a problem, Kujo-san? Rin Kiyono listed out a series of examples and looked directly at Miki Kujo's eyes. No problem. Miki Kujo returned the script to Rin Kiyono. It's just a very ordinary adaptation. If you don't want to act, you can leave now. I'll find someone else for the female lead. Rin Kiyono put the script back into the woven bag. Toru Watanabe silently retracted his hand that was about to pick up the script. He hadn't read it yet. Forget it. Resolving the conflict in front of him was more important than reading the script. Toru Watanabe walked behind Miki Kujo and put his hands on her shoulders, forcing her to sit down. Miki, no matter what the script is, you have to be the female lead. Are you ordering me? As soon as she sat down, Miki Kujo habitually crossed her long legs and crossed her arms in the posture of a queen. How is that possible? Toru Watanabe rubbed her shoulders. I don't want to play the male and female lead with other girls. Can you just fulfill one of my wishes and play the female lead? Miki Kujo closed her eyes and felt Toru Watanabe's clumsy massage technique. Rin Kiyono frowned and looked embarrassed. Toru Watanabe gave her a look. This is for the sake of the crew, don't make trouble. Men who are full of lies are disgusting. Toru Watanabe didn't know whether it was translated like that, but Rin Kiyono looked at him with disgust and anger, so the general meaning was not far from the truth. Rin Kiyono didn't know that if the female lead was someone else, the male lead, who had so many secrets that he was afraid of the police, would have a miserable ending. He didn't know either. Toru Watanabe shook Miki Kujo's soft and graceful body. Promise me this one time, okay? Miki Kujo's small and delicate nose made a helpless sound. I really owed you in my previous life. Great. Toru Watanabe gave Rin Kiyono a smug look. But in return he got an even more disdainful look. It was too difficult to be the male lead, really. Toru Watanabe suddenly envied Asu, who was doing chores, pointing the camera at the female lead in maid costume or bunny girl costume. That was what a proper male lead should do. But that was because Haruhi Suzumiya was the director, and he wouldn't allow his favorite Asu to act with other girls. Wait. Toru Watanabe looked at the tripod, the long pole microphone, and the drink he just bought beside his chair. Apart from being the male lead, wasn't he also doing chores? He also took into account the money to buy the equipment, write the script, choose the female lead, the investor, the scriptwriter, and the assistant director. I really want to go back to the 26th of August, which was yesterday, and stab the guy who looked down on the questionnaire and suggested making a movie to death with a fruit knife without blood. Toru Watanabe stared blankly at the cloud. After convincing Miki Kujo, Rin Kiyono seized the time to talk to her about the script before dark. The female lead and the male lead agreed to meet at the ticket gate of the Jingu Stadium. At first, they were looking forward to it, but they didn't show up. Toru Watanabe found that when director Kiyono and Miki Kujo were talking, she could distinguish the difference between the female lead and Miki Kujo. In other words, Rin Kiyono deliberately confused him with the male lead, Toru Watanabe, who was about to die. After the two finished talking about the script, Toru Watanabe asked, "When will the scene where the male lead dies be filmed? Are you going to be the thief? How did the male lead die in Love Letter?" Toru Watanabe was puzzled by Rin Kiyono's question, but he answered, "He died in an avalanche while climbing a mountain on a snowy day." Has the director finished filming? You mean I'm already dead? You're not hopeless. Rin Kiyono nodded with satisfaction. No, the male lead is already dead. When he thought that Rin Kiyono might have the same ability as Haruhi Suzumiya, Toru Watanabe was particularly insistent on this point. He was still young. Even if he was never lucky, as long as he was faithful, the worst ending would be to spend the rest of his life with the beautiful and rich Kujo. He didn't want to die so early. Unfortunately, Rin Kiyono didn't want to argue with him about this point. She looked at the sky and said, "It's about time. Let's go." Rin Kiyono took the SLR, put the oolong tea into the woven bag on her shoulder, and walked towards the entrance of the Jingu Stadium. Miki Kujo was empty-handed, but her footsteps were light. Toru Watanabe drank up the soda in one breath and followed her with the tripod and the microphone. At first, he thought that the filming would be troublesome. For example, it was Miki Kujo's first time filming a movie, and she had to take into account the gazes of the people around her. In the end, the progress was faster than expected. She stood there with a natural expression, occasionally looking at Rin Kiyono's camera. She didn't make any extra movements, only occasionally tidying up her clothes. Just this alone made her feel like a girl who was looking forward to a date. Most of the people around her were saying things like, "This girl is super cute. Is she an artist? Are you filming a movie?" And looking at her, Toru Watanabe really admired the two ladies. He couldn't do it as if there was no one around. Holding the microphone, he was even more embarrassed than Rin Kiyono, who was using the camera to stop Miki Kujo from taking pictures from all angles, and Miki Kujo, who was surrounded the most. This is also cultivation that doesn't care about the gazes of the world. Toru Watanabe kept hypnotizing himself. An hour before the start of the fireworks event, there would be a series of performances in the Shrine Square. The organizers had invited all the famous artists. Watanabe, you must record the sound of the announcements. It's the best proof that the movie shows the passage of time, understand? Rin Kiyono said. Got it. At this time, the two ladies were already resting. Only Toru Watanabe was holding the microphone, waiting for the announcement to start. After recording the announcements, he had to record the noise of the artists' performances. The music gradually faded, and the fireworks show began to announce. A few muffled sounds came from afar, and more than a dozen sparks rushed into the night sky like shooting stars. After a short period of dimming, they exploded with a bang, and the bright red fireworks reflected the outer court of Meiji Shrine in a bright red color. The fireworks event had officially begun. Amidst the exclamations of the fireworks, Kujio Miyoshi anxiously called the male lead, but no matter how many times she called, no one answered. Cut. Rin Kiyono stopped. After checking the video, she said, "It's done. I'll be back before the last set of shots." Miki Kujo was ready to go in and watch the fireworks to pass the time. Okay. I'll stay here and shoot a few sets of fireworks from the female lead's point of view. Rin Kiyono was filming seriously under the gorgeous fireworks. Miki Kujo turned around and walked toward the organizers who were waiting in the distance. Just as Toru Watanabe was wondering if it would be okay if he didn't follow her, Miki Kujo suddenly turned around and looked at him with an emotionless gaze. Toru Watanabe walked over obediently. The organizer immediately tried to take the tripod and microphone from him, but he refused. The two of them didn't buy tickets, but they went directly to the VIP seats of the Jingu Stadium. The luxurious equipment and the angle that overlooked the whole stadium. While the fireworks seemed to explode above their heads, there was also a sense of nobility standing above the heads of the audience. The best SS seats that could be bought in the outside world couldn't be compared to here. Accompanied by the sound of cannonballs, clusters of flame arrows rushed into the sky. When they reached a certain height, they suddenly exploded and turned into colorful garlands. Then the colorful fireworks fell from the night sky like a waterfall. Before the audience could finish their exclamations, more and more gorgeous fireworks exploded. 10,000 fireworks in an endless stream. The whole of Shinjuku became a city that never slept. The sky and earth were pale. Chapter 117. This fireworks event, which was called the last fireworks of summer, lasted from 7:30 to 8:30, and lasted for a whole hour. The fireworks were beautiful, but it was boring to watch for more than 10 minutes. After half an hour, it was almost time to leave. Toru Watanabe looked around, and whispered to Miki Kujo to get something to eat. "I'll go with you." Miki Kujo, who was also bored, stood up. At this time, the sound of the fireworks was endless. Her face was illuminated by the fireworks, and her skirt and long hair swayed in the night wind. Toru Watanabe felt like he was really seeing a night fairy. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe, who was staring at her, with a smile in her eyes, and offered her hand. Toru Watanabe, who came back to his senses, smiled and held her hand. Seeing the two leave, the organizer, who was hiding somewhere, suddenly appeared. After knowing that the two were going to eat, he took the initiative to introduce the ingredients prepared for today's VIP guests. "This is tuna sushi, just shipped from Tottori Prefecture this morning. This is sea urchin from Hokkaido Rima." Toru Watanabe never took the initiative to spend money to eat raw food, but this was a rare opportunity. He tasted each dish according to the organizer's introduction. Miki Kujo was going to send the long-winded organizer away, but seeing that Toru Watanabe was listening with great interest, she didn't say anything. As expected of the VIP area, even the place where they ate could overlook the entire Kamiya Stadium. The stadium had a rule that no one could enter if they left midway, so there were people selling snacks and beer in the aisles of the chairs. The bustling and crowded scene, and the empty VIP area around the two of them formed two different worlds. As Toru Watanabe ate his sushi, he wondered if he would be among these people if he had not met Miki Kujo. Or would he be outside the Jingu Stadium with Rin Kiyono, holding the tripod and the long microphone? But no matter which one it was impossible for them to be in this VIP area where there are security guards, unrelated personnel are prohibited from barging in, and exquisite food is placed casually on the long table to eat as they please. By the time they finished their meal, it was close to 8:20 p.m. The two of them left Shingang Stadium to meet up with Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono was sitting on a bench at the entrance of Jingang Stadium with a box of fried noodles in her hand. She looked up at the fireworks in the sky, occasionally thinking of using her chopsticks to put a mouthful of fried noodles covered in sauce into her mouth. Toru Watanabe followed her line of sight and looked at the fireworks. Most of them were blocked by the buildings of the Shingang Stadium. The view here was very bad, and it was better to go further. For example, the bench where the two of them sat in the afternoon, or by the ginkgo tree, they could see the complete fireworks. There was no charge there. Many citizens brought plastic mats and sat in the square like a picnic, eating the food they brought while enjoying the fireworks. It might be even more comfortable than paying for the tickets. Why don't we go in together? We can also watch the fireworks in there and eat for free. Toru Watanabe looked away. Rin Kiyono put down the fried noodles in her hand and took out a tissue to slowly wipe her mouth. Do you think I'm Watanabe-san? I've been in that kind of place for a long time. The fried noodles outside are delicious. Her indifferent tone was full of hostility. Toru Watanabe was baffled. He wondered if her fried noodles were mixed with the smoke from the fireworks. The night wind was indeed full of the smell of smoke. You're the one who suggested to stay here. What's happening now? Before Toru Watanabe could finish his words, the host's excited voice came from the radio. Sorry for the long wait. It's finally the end. Please enjoy the last passion of summer. Rapid fire number 5 fireworks, continuous fire, start. Before they could react to what the host was saying, the rockets rose in an instant. Huge waterfalls of fireworks appeared in the night sky one after another, dazzling everyone. Toru Watanabe looked at the feast of light and sound in surprise. He had never seen such amazing fireworks. Seino Rin and Mika Kujio, who were standing to the side, were also quietly watching this scene. Their delicate, snow-white faces were clearly reflected in the light. Rin Kiyono suddenly came back to her senses. Movie. I almost forgot. Toru Watanabe quickly got to work. Fortunately, although it was rapid fire, it wasn't a submachine gun. Rin Kiyono managed to get a shot of Miki Kujo's uneasiness and disappointment before the 80 fireworks were finished. Toru Watanabe put away the long pole microphone. Will we finish shooting the scene of the female lead returning home today? No need. Rin Kiyono said. The estimated shooting time of Iwate Prefecture to Tokyo, 400 kilometers, is 25 minutes. Some unimportant scenes, such as you being stabbed to death, the female lead returning home, and even your funeral, will not be filmed. I won't argue with you about other things. What is Iwate Prefecture to Tokyo, 400 kilometers? The name of the movie, you don't know? Rin Kiyono's acting of surprise was terrible, but it was very cute. How would I know? I thought you would be able to guess it since you're so smart. Rin Kiyono said matter-of-factly. What kind of person would be able to guess the name of the movie that the director came up with at the last minute? Toru Watanabe really wanted to worship him as his teacher. Also, why was this male lead so coincidental that he also came from Iwate Prefecture? He turned to Miki Kujo and said, I can understand why you hate this girl so much. I hate her now too. Miki Kujo glanced at Rin Kiyono with a smile. Rin Kiyono glared at Toru Watanabe and said, We've finished filming, let's go. The three of them left Meiji Shrine Yuan before the audience came out of the stadium, and the road became crowded. When they were outside, Miki Kujo got into the luxury car that had been waiting for them and sped away on the road that was clearly under traffic control. It's good to be rich. Toru Watanabe hugged the tripod and the long pole microphone and said to the car's taillights in the distance, Aren't you also very rich now? I am rich, But in fact, the happiest time I had in Tokyo was when I held up a billboard under the sun for a few hours, worked every day, and thought about how to save money. Toru Watanabe said the words that he had always wanted to say with satisfaction. His impression of Rin Kiyono increased by 3 points. On the contrary, Rin Kiyono revealed a cruel smile. I was wrong. Toru Watanabe knew when to stop. The girl sighed helplessly and walked towards the station. She avoided the audience at the stadium, but couldn't avoid the crowd at the station. So the platform was very crowded. Most of the people seemed to have come back from the fireworks event. Not only were they wearing bathrobes, but they also had cushions and umbrellas. The surrounding men all looked at Rin Kiyono intentionally or unintentionally, which made her frown. Toru Watanabe was also looked at by the girls. As a boy, although he couldn't empathize with Rin Kiyono, he could understand her feelings. Do you want to take a taxi? He suggested. Taking a taxi in Japan was ridiculously expensive, but it wasn't a problem for the two of them. Rin Kiyono looked at the platform full of people. They were trapped in the crowd and couldn't move. Do you think we can still get out? Toru Watanabe noticed the situation between the two of them and nodded in agreement. Can you hold on? No. Toru Watanabe was very surprised. He thought that Rin Kiyono would say something like, "It doesn't matter whether we can hold on or not, but in this situation, we must hold on." Then what about you? He asked. Rin Kiyono pondered for a while and finally said helplessly, "There's no other way. I can only accept your suggestion." Take a taxi? But we can't get out? Are you an idiot, Watanabe-san? Sorry, you've always been thinking about girls' breasts and legs. You're already an idiot, right? Can you lower your voice? Toru Watanabe really couldn't do anything about this guy. Rin Kiyono noticed the strange looks around her, and her face turned red. She looked down at her and Toru Watanabe's shoes and whispered, "It's all because you're too stupid." "I'm sorry for being so stupid." "It's okay." Rin Kiyono raised her head and said with shining eyes, "My heart is as high as the mountains. Forgive your stupidity and thank me." That's absolutely right, that's what she's always wanted to say. Toru Watanabe promised to the people in front of him. If not, he would make the next tram derail and crash into the platform he was on. He would also kill this guy next to him. Miss Kiyono, who coexists with beauty and wisdom, please tell me, what is your proposal? Rin Kiyono answered with a little satisfaction on her face. You're so beautiful, and there will be many people watching the fireworks tonight. I'll be very worried about you, so don't leave my side at that time. Watanabe-san, that's what you said, right? Toru Watanabe looked at the ceiling of the station. I wasn't me yesterday. You really are an idiot. It's this afternoon. Is that the point? Rin Kiyono was slightly displeased. Besides lying, you're going to go back on your words. Of course not. Didn't the Great Gatsby say that everyone thinks they have at least one basic virtue? Mine is to keep my promises. Rin Kiyono rubbed her temples with a headache. She didn't tell Toru Watanabe that last time he said his basic virtue was honesty. In short, before leaving Shibuya Station, I'll allow you to protect me like a knight protecting a princess. Kiyono-san, you can use the tone of a reward to ask for a favor. You're really amazing. You don't want to? No, I'm happy to. But what about the salary? Salary? Of course, what do you think? Do you know what it means for someone with my status to be a guardian? If nothing unexpected happens, your future will be at least above everyone else. The reason why I say at least is because I haven't found any other races yet. Guardian? Rin Kiyono looked helplessly at Toru Watanabe. I find it hard to understand what you're talking about sometimes. Is the difference between Iwate Prefecture and Tokyo that big? Kiyono-san, I have a question for you. Yes. Do you know the manga Guangongshi? Toru Watanabe asked. I know Guangongshi. It should be referring to Guan Yu from the Three Kingdoms, but I've never heard of this manga. What's wrong with it? Its full name is about not understanding what your husband is saying. The story goes something like this. The husband uses his rich otaku experience and knowledge to play with his wife who doesn't understand him at all to play with. Toru Watanabe shut his mouth. Rin Kiyono blinked her beautiful, cold eyes. Enough with the dirty jokes. If there's a third time today, I was wrong. Toru Watanabe said it so bluntly that Rin Kiyono's cold face couldn't help but reveal a smile, then immediately turned cold and glared at him. At this time, they heard a clanking sound. The two of them turned around at the same time. The tram slid into the platform with the announcement, and slowly stopped in front of them. Although there weren't many reports about trams, they never stopped. In order to avoid any accidents, Toru Watanabe squeezed Rin Kiyono into the crowded carriage and made her stand in the corner. He took out the tripod and microphone that he had been holding in his arms, completely surrounding Rin Sano in the middle. "Thank you." Rin Kiyono blushed slightly and looked away. "It's nothing. It's the male lead's duty to protect the director." As soon as Toru Watanabe started talking nonsense, Rin Kiyono immediately got rid of her shyness and looked up at him. "Wait a minute. The male lead's duty is to protect the female lead. Also, even if Watanabe-san fawns over me now, the ending of you being killed won't change. I don't want to fawn over you for those things." Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe suspiciously. His neck and collarbone peeked out from his well-made shirt, firm and well-defined. Also, there was a slight smile on his face, and the gaze that was looking straight at them. "Kiyono-san." Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono looked in the direction of the voice. In the distance, Yoshimi Tamamo was saying, "Excuse me," and "Excuse me," as she squeezed her way over. Behind her were Myasahi, Asako Hanada, and Aoi Ichiki. The Meiji Shrine Yuen's fireworks festival was one of the 3 major fireworks festivals in Tokyo. More than 1 million people participated in the festival. Kanagawa High School's Shibuya station was not far from here, so Toru Watanabe was not surprised to meet his classmates. However, when did Yoshimi Tamamo star in Aoi Ichiki's love story? Yoshimi Tamamo walked over and inserted herself between the two of them without hesitation. Her face was facing Rin Kiyono, and the back of her head was facing Toru Watanabe. "Kiyono-san, what a coincidence. Did you go to watch the fireworks too?" "Well, no, not really." Rin Kiyono could not deal with people who were so enthusiastic. "Then what are you doing here?" "Filming a movie." "Filming a movie?" Yoshimi Tamamo raised her voice without any civility. "You can call it oime. I was a model in middle school for a while, and I even helped the film studies department shoot a promotional video." "Really? That's amazing. I originally wanted to invite Tamamo-san, but it just started today, so I didn't have time to inform you." "Really? That's great. What movie? Tell me, oime." Toru Watanabe had had enough. Yoshimi Tamamo spoke as she moved her body. Her simple and inexplicably beautiful high ponytail swung back and forth, making Toru Watanabe want to sneeze. The car was full of people, and there was almost no space left. He wanted to retreat, but there was no place to do so. "Ponytail attack? Do you think you're Otori?" Toru Watanabe sniffed twice to suppress his desire to sneeze. At the same time, he smelled a familiar fragrance. Senior Mai came to his side. Toru Watanabe did not look sideways, trying to pretend that he did not see her. However, from the corner of his eyes, he could clearly see that senior sister Lena was staring at him intently. Not only that, but as she looked at him, her snow-white and delicate skin gradually turned red. Then, the excited senior Mai secretly reached out to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe slowly turned his head and looked into senior Mai's eyes. She did not hide her flushed cheeks. He looked at her lips. At this moment, he heard the words that those sweet lips had once said to him. The time was the morning of the second day of the musical ensemble training. The location was outside the forest. "Che, look, this is my hand." "Really, don't do this." Toru Watanabe looked at Senior Mai with such eyes. But Senior Mai's clear eyes were watery and blocked by tears for some reason. She did not seem to understand what he meant at all. Toru Watanabe looked at Asako Hanada and Aoi Ichiki, hoping that the two of them could make Senior Mai stop before it was too late. But they were holding their phones and seemed to be selecting the photos that they had just taken to send to their INS. Yoshimi Tamamo suddenly turned her head. Her eyes widened behind her contact lenses. Toru Watanabe's eyes were caught off guard by her ponytail. He blinked his eyes desperately and tried to control his tears. Why did you suddenly turn around? He suppressed the anger in his heart. Yoshimi Tamamo glared at him with eyes full of anger. She did not say a word. What's wrong, Tamamo? Rin Kiyono asked softly. No, it's nothing. Yoshimi Tamamo gave Toru Watanabe a warning glare. Then she continued to watch the video with Rin Kiyono. I plan to put this at the end of the movie. It's clearly at the beginning of the story. Listening to Rin Kiyono's explanation, Yoshimi Tamamo recalled what had just happened. Just now, Toru Watanabe had touched her but with his hand. And very cunningly, he had deliberately used the back of his hand. A lot of hooligans in the news used this kind of excuse to get caught. They could also use the excuse of I only accidentally touched you with the back of my hand. Who do you think you are? Who wants to harass you? To quibble. Toru Watanabe, who was about to cry, and Yoshimi Tamamo, whose butt had been touched again, cursed each other in their minds. Fortunately, the tram ride from Shinano to Shiya Station only took 2 minutes. Chapter 118. On the 28th of August, there were only 2 days left until the end of the summer vacation. There were more teachers on campus. However, this was convenient for the Human Observation Department who wanted to film the school scenes. After the morning training for the Wind Department ended, Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe came to the teacher's office. Sensei Koizumi, there's something that I'd like to request from you, Rin Kiyono said. What's the matter, Kiyono? When Aona Koizumi replied, she couldn't help but glance at Toru Watanabe who was standing beside Rin Kiyono. On the night of the collective training, what he said to the girls' dormitory still had an impact on her. On the other side, Rin Kiyono, who was completely unaware of the fact that she had an affair with Toru Watanabe, continued. The Human Observation Department's cultural festival is a movie. Some of the scenes are set in the school. We'd like to request permission to film in the school. Sure, no problem at all. Thank you, Sensei. Also, after school reopens, we might need to use class time. I see. Aona Koizumi thought about it and didn't agree immediately. With Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe's grades, using class time to work hard for the cultural festival seemed like a good way for them to relax and spend their youth. If it was before the collective training, she would have nodded without hesitation. The other teachers and the principal probably wouldn't have any objections. But now, Aona Koizumi thought about the gossip that Huangzi and Miyuki had told her in private, about students secretly kissing in school and hiding in the girls' washroom. Then she thought about Toru Watanabe's history of going to the girls' dormitory in the middle of the night. As a teacher, should she agree? If she agreed, what if it encouraged the evil atmosphere? Aona Koizumi looked at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe understood her hesitation and assured her, it's really just filming. Miki is the female lead, and she's there most of the time. That's good. Aona Koizumi finally nodded. I will help you apply to the school. Thank you, teacher. Rin Kiyono said as a trace of doubt flashed through her mind. Akiko, who was sitting at the desk next to Aona Koizumi, was working hard on writing something. She put down her pen and stretched lazily. She picked up the snacks beside her and poked her head over. Making a movie? Who are the male and female leads? Both of you? No, it's me and Miki Kujo, Toru Watanabe replied. So Kiyono is the second female lead? In the end, you still chose classmate Kujo. Huangzi ate her snacks, looking like a group of female university students discussing a melodramatic TV drama. How is that possible? If classmate Kiyono was the second female lead, I would have said, you're all my wings, and then walked into a happy harem. Watanabe-san. I'm just kidding. Toru Watanabe shut his mouth. Rin Kiyono coldly glanced at him and said to Aona Koizumi and Huangzi, Teacher, please rest assured, I won't let Watanabe-san experience this, even if it's in a movie. Yes, this kind of immoral thing is indeed not suitable for students. Aona Koizumi looked into Rin Kiyono's eyes, hoping that she would repent for her actions from her words. Unfortunately, Rin Kiyono was completely unrepentant and acted as if nothing had happened. I really want to watch this kind of movie. Huangzi's tone was full of regret. But it's really too difficult to choose between classmate Kiyono and classmate Kujo. She seemed to have already put herself in the shoes of the male lead, as she revealed a conflicted expression. Then she suddenly leaned forward and asked Toru Watanabe, "Watanabe, which one do you like?" "Me?" Toru Watanabe pointed at himself. Yes, yes. Huangzi nodded and stuffed more snacks into her mouth. Apart from her, for some reason, Rin Kiyono and Aona Koizumi were also silently staring at Toru Watanabe. It seemed that they were also waiting for his answer. There was clearly no such thing. So why did he have to face such a sharp question? He already said that he, Watanabe, wanted the whole world to bow down to him, not to be indecisive between a few women. Grandma, no, Mom told me before not to easily say that I like someone. Toru Watanabe chose to evade the question. The three women widened their eyes slightly as they looked at him. Huangzi licked the remains of the snacks on her fingers and sighed. Watanabe, now I believe what Miyuki said. Have you had many girlfriends before? Could he answer no? He couldn't. Yoshimi Tamamo was one, and now there was also Miki Kujo. Toru Watanabe didn't know if he met the criteria of having many girlfriends. If he did, Rin Kiyono would know the correct answer regardless of whether he answered yes or no. Toru Watanabe put on a helpless expression as if he had been wronged. Huangzi-sensei, what was your last question? Huangzi thought for a while. Which one do you like? I choose Koizumi-sensei. Silence. Ha ha ha. Huangzi burst out in laughter, and then made fun of Aona Koizumi like crazy. You still say it's nothing. Look at that. Aona Koizumi's face reddened. Watanabe, what nonsense are you spouting? Rin Kiyono lowered her head in embarrassment and pinched the bridge of her nose. Aona Koizumi then chased Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono away with the excuse that she wanted to eat lunch. On the way back to the human observation department, the hot air surged in the hallway, and the cicadas kept chirping outside the window. The sports field in the distance seemed to be slightly distorted. So you like older people? Rin Kiyono mocked him mercilessly. For a researcher, age doesn't matter, like or dislike. Work is everything. You mean as long as they have nice legs? I can't reveal the specifics of my research, so give up. I won't answer any of your questions. Rin Kiyono sighed with a headache. You're really hopeless. What's wrong with having a passion for research? Please stay away from me. My body can't accept a pervert like you. Rin Kiyono slightly protected her skirt. Pervert? That's the biggest insult to a scientist. Apologize to Einstein immediately. Einstein would be gratified to have a junior like Toru Watanabe, who could stand on the opposite side of a beautiful girl who represented power and wealth. Toru Watanabe seemed to hear the deceased scientists whispering in his ear. Science doesn't equal holiness. Scientists don't equal morality. Ha. After lunch, Rin Kiyono took another set of shots of Toru Watanabe in the club's classroom. In the afternoon, the two returned to the performance department. After playing a competition song and a performance song, Rin Kiyono prepared to leave the school. She said to Toru Watanabe, who was still practicing seriously, I'm ready to go back. What about you? If you go, I'll go too. Toru Watanabe's lips left the whistle and took it off the oboe. Rin Kiyono showed a satisfied smile, but said, I haven't decided what to shoot today. I'm mainly going to shoot the scene. If you want to stay and practice, you can stay. No, I'll go with you. Today's highest temperature was 34 degrees. Rin Kiyono was going to shoot the scene. As the one who proposed to make the movie, Toru Watanabe couldn't stay in the air-conditioned music room and leave everything to her. I want to go too. Yoshimi Tamamo came over with a trombone. Rin Kiyono looked at her in confusion. I'm also an actress, right? Accompanying the crew to shoot the scene is also my right. Yoshimi Tamamo looked at Toru Watanabe vigilantly. She still felt the touch of the back of her hand on her butt. How could she let this pervert go out alone with Kiyono classmate? No. Absolutely not. Toru Watanabe was puzzled by her look. He suspected that Yoshimi Tamamo wanted to slack off and avoid the afternoon practice, or take the opportunity to ask for money by being an actress. But, Rin Kiyono said hesitantly, the sun is very strong today. Tamamo classmate can come after we finish shooting the scene. No, I have to go. If she wants to come, then let her come. Toru Watanabe said with the idea that since she's here, she should at least help with the props. Yoshimi Tamamo opened her eyes wide and looked at Toru Watanabe vigilantly. She felt that he was up to no good. Thinking about the scene during the summer break when Toru Watanabe helped the baseball team practice, she suddenly felt insecure about the two of them. She ran over to the base team and whispered a few words. Aoi Ichiki excitedly pulled my Asahi and Asako Hanada over. Kiyono classmate, they're willing to help too. I'm very happy that everyone is willing to help, but we really don't need so many people. It's okay, we're happy to help. Also, I know a lot of good places. Aoi Ichiki said eagerly. I've already thought of a place to go. Let's go together. Yoshimi Tamamo went up and hugged Rin Kiyono's arm. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono's arm, and suddenly remembered that Aoi Ichiki seemed to have a plan to confess before the end of the summer break. After thinking about this, he looked at Rin Kiyono. Her expression didn't change. She seemed to be thinking, it's okay to go together, but you have to help carry the props, understand? He made the decision on behalf of Rin Kiyono. Why should I? Yoshimi Tamamo said. Because as the male lead, I'm also carrying the props. Watanabe classmate, Rin Kiyono wanted to press her forehead with her hand, but she suddenly realized that her hand was still in Yoshimi Tamamo's arms. She pulled her arm out and said, do you know that other than being the male lead, you're also doing chores? What I really didn't expect was that you would betray me. But you don't have to carry the props today. Rin Kiyono smiled and crossed her arms. After saying this, she said to the other four, all right, let's all go together, but please make sure to protect yourself from the sun. Don't worry. After agreeing to meet at Sigu Station in 40 minutes, Toru Watanabe cleaned the whistle and slowly went home. As a guy, especially a guy who didn't care much about clothes, he only needed to change into casual clothes. Rin Kiyono went home. After taking a quick shower, she carefully applied some sunscreen, changed into casual clothes, and slung her DSLR and bag over her shoulder. She walked out of the room, got off the elevator, and went to the spacious first floor of the apartment. Through the glass door, she saw Toru Watanabe waiting at the door. For some reason, Rin Kiyono's mood suddenly improved. Her footsteps became lighter, and her skirt swayed. Didn't you say to meet at Sigu Station? She accused. I just happened to pass by here. Liar. I want to see you so much that I'm going crazy. No matter what, I want to see you before we meet up. Hey, I'm not done yet. At the east exit of Sigu Station, the two of them saw 4 people hiding in the shade with umbrellas. Before walking over, Toru Watanabe asked Rin Kiyono, as a girl, you don't have an umbrella? It's in my bag. Then why don't you use it? Because I don't want to stay under the same umbrella as a pervert who studies legs. What do you mean? Either share an umbrella, or sunbathe together. Do you think you can increase my favorability by doing this? You're too naive. Please think of another way. Is that so? Rin Kiyono's reply was cold. She walked straight towards the 4 people who were waving at her. She didn't wait for Toru Watanabe at all. Since he couldn't see her face, Toru Watanabe wasn't sure if his guess was right. But it should be wrong, right? Maybe it was indeed share an umbrella, or sunbathe together. But the reason had nothing to do with increased favorability. Where are we going? Toru Watanabe asked after a round. Empty Takao. Rin Kiyono said. Mountain. Are you sure you want to climb a mountain in this weather? Really? Rin Kiyono sighed and said, climbing a mountain is very tiring, and the sun is very strong. You're not a member of the Human Observation Department. I'm already happy that you can help. Go back. No, I want to go. Yoshimi Tamamo insisted. The others didn't object, so a group of idiots climbed a mountain in the summer heat of 34 degrees Celsius. Except for Toru Watanabe, because he thought that he was forced to climb a mountain. It was obvious that Qingyi Rin had already checked the route, and he took the group to purchase the Mount Takao discount ticket that was offered by Kyokaku Electric Railway. It would only take them an hour to reach Mount Takao in Hakioji City. The ticket included a return ticket, as well as tickets for the cable car or the hanging chair. Not only that, there was a 20% discount. To hell with it. If Toru Watanabe knew that they were going to climb a mountain, he definitely wouldn't have said something like, "If you go, I'll go." Probably. When they arrived at MT Takao Station, they saw the waiting room and platform sign made of cedar as soon as they got off the car. It was said that the cedar at the station was all taken from MT Takao. It was designed by a master architect to blend in with nature. "Are we taking the cable car?" Aoyachiki asked excitedly. The sun was very bright at 3 o'clock, but they stayed in the car and didn't have time to feel it. They were still looking forward to climbing the mountain. "The four of you can take the cable car directly," Rin Kiyono said. She was here to film, so there was no point in taking the cable car directly. "The four of you?" Toru Watanabe confirmed, just in case. Rin Kiyono looked at him in confusion. "Nothing. If you have something to say, just say it." "It's really nothing." Rin Kiyono smiled beautifully. "Since it's nothing, don't complain later, Watanabe-san." Toru Watanabe thought seriously for 3 seconds, and thought of all the things that could be used against him. "It's nothing." In fact, the main reason was that he was the one who proposed to shoot the movie. In order to shoot the movie, Rin Kiyono was even prepared to come here alone. It was unreasonable for him to complain about being tired. Rin Kiyono nodded with satisfaction. Although Toru Watanabe liked to talk nonsense and was full of lies, he was still an ideal human being. Aoyachiki couldn't hold back her curiosity. "What is the relationship between Kiyono-san and Watanabe-san?" "What relationship?" Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe with a smile. "The police and the thief?" Toru Watanabe answered. "No." Rin Kiyono shook her head. "Then what is it?" "The police and the thief." "Oh." Toru Watanabe looked at the mountain in front of him. "Since the light is good, let's hurry up and climb the mountain." "Thief." "Today I'll let you see what a murderer is like." When they reached the foot of the mountain, they were already sweating. "Are you guys thirsty? I'll go buy some water first." Toru Watanabe said. "No need, I brought some." "Me too." The girls seemed to have brought water in their bags, or they had already bought some. Toru Watanabe walked towards the vending machine alone. "Wait." Rin Kiyono called out to him. "Do you want something to drink?" Toru Watanabe turned around. Rin Kiyono walked out of Yoshimi Tamamo's umbrella and walked in front of Toru Watanabe. She took out her own umbrella from the woven bag and handed it to him. She looked away slightly. "Take it." "Kiyono-san, did you bring an umbrella?" Yoshimi Tamamo asked curiously. "Yes." "Then why?" Yoshimi Tamamo wanted to ask her why she didn't hold the umbrella herself. Rin Kiyono understood her doubts and replied, "Watanabe-san said that he didn't bring an umbrella. I've been hesitating whether to give it to him or not. Tamamo-san is willing to share an umbrella with me, so it's okay to give mine to him." "Is that so?" Yoshimi Tamamo suddenly thought of something and became happy. She walked quickly and covered Rin Kiyono's head with the umbrella again. Toru Watanabe looked at the umbrella in his hand. "I'm not returning it." Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at him. "Return it to me when we return to Tokyo." "That's what I meant." Chapter 119. There were 6 routes up the mountain, and Rin Kiyono chose the 6th route. There's a waterfall, a stream, and a suspension bridge on this route. There's almost no sign of human activity. It's very suitable for filming scenes in Iwate Prefecture. After listening to her, Toru Watanabe said with dissatisfaction, "Whether it's suitable or not, wait for me, a real Iwate Prefecture citizen, to see it." Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe, who was holding her female umbrella, and smiled meaningfully. "What are you smiling about?" Toru Watanabe looked at himself and didn't find anything wrong with it. "Nothing. Let's go." When they were up the mountain, they wouldn't need an umbrella at all. There were fir trees that were 7 to 8 meters tall, and even more than 10 meters tall everywhere. Apart from fir trees, there were also countless maple trees, cherry trees, and all kinds of unknown trees and weeds. MT Takao was known as the world's #1 mountain climber. Apart from its proximity to Tokyo, a cosmopolitan city, the cherry trees and maple trees were also one of the most important reasons. It was now the end of August, a season without any special scenery. There was only greenery all over the mountain. Green trees, green grass, green stones, and even the roof of the shrine was green. Unless it was done on purpose, there was no place to bask in the sun on the 6th route. Toru Watanabe put away his umbrella and looked at Rin Kiyono's woven bag. He thought about it. She lent him her umbrella when the sun was up, but it didn't make sense for her to carry it up the mountain when there was no sun. Kiyono-san. Yes, give it to me. Rin Kiyono put down her DSLR and looked at him in confusion. The bag, Toru Watanabe said. Rin Kiyono was stunned. She looked at Toru Watanabe's slender hand, then at her own woven bag, and suddenly panicked. No need. Thank you. Just focus on shooting and leave the physical work to me. I'm just doing chores, aren't I? Rin Kiyono paused for a moment, then nodded with a smile. That's true. She took the woven bag off her shoulder and was about to hand it over to Toru Watanabe when Yoshimi Tamamo suddenly said, Kiyono-san, let me help you. No thank you, Tamamo-san. Rin Kiyono softly refused. It doesn't matter. Let me hold it for you. Yoshimi Tamamo said as she reached out to take the woven bag. Rin Kiyono didn't let go. If Tamamo classmate is willing to help, then let her be, Toru Watanabe said. He had no sympathy for Yoshimi Tamamo. If she was willing to take it, he would be all for it. Yoshimi Tamamo glared at the pervert who touched her butt. Just as she was about to say something, Rin Kiyono spoke first. No. Her short words contained an inexplicable refusal. Yoshimi Tamamo and the other 3 girls were stunned for a moment. Familiar with how to woo a rich woman. See through the young lady's heart. Toru Watanabe, who had rich combat experience, wasn't afraid of her at all, mainly because he was used to it. With a trace of doubt he asked, why not? In response to Toru Watanabe's question, Rin Kiyono didn't know why, but she seemed a little unhappy. Compared to Tamamo classmate, I have a better relationship with you. If I let you help me carry the bag, I'll feel better. Her words made the mountain forest fall into silence. Toru Watanabe looked at the shocked expressions on everyone's faces. Even Mayasami, who had been expressionless the entire time, looked at Rin Seno in surprise. Toru Watanabe was also a little surprised. After interacting with Rin Kiyono for so long, he had almost forgotten that this guy had a strange temper and was rude to strangers. But in fact, he was just speaking the truth. Thinking about it, he felt that it was inconceivable that he had developed an antibody against Rin Kiyono. In the end, why did he insist on interacting with someone who only knew how to speak the truth for so long? Apart from her appearance with a little 9 points charm, it should be because she would rather not have any friends and insist on speaking the truth. It can't be helped, Tamamo classmate. It seems that Kiyono classmate likes me more. Toru Watanabe proudly took the woven bag from Rin Kiyono's hands. Yoshimi Tamamo glared at Toru Watanabe. Her eyes were burning with fighting spirit and murderous intent. Rin Kiyono sighed helplessly. Please don't use the word like. It makes me very uncomfortable. It's just that we're closer. Sundara? What Sundara? Nothing. Looking at Toru Watanabe's serious expression, Rin Kiyono thought of Guangongshi. Just now, wasn't he? She glared at Toru Watanabe fiercely and turned her face away unhappily. Let's go. The light is good now. It's convenient for shooting. Rin Kiyono said as she took the lead to go up the mountain. Yoshimi Tamamo immediately followed. Senpai, let's go too. Aoi Ichiki called out to Mayasahi and Asako Hanada. Toru Watanabe, who wasn't liked, was at the back. He opened the woven bag and put the umbrella inside. With a quick glance, he saw the situation inside the woven bag. There weren't many things inside. Water, wallet, watermelon card for the tram, earphones, cell phone, memory card, tissue, and a square pack of feminine hygiene products. Toru Watanabe looked at the girl in front. She didn't have any scruples when walking. It seemed like it was just a backup. Women really didn't have it easy. Men should protect them well. Toru Watanabe patted the woven bag and promised, Comrade brother, let me protect Kiyono together. If you're here, I'm here. Watanabe classmate, What are you doing? Rin Kiyono stood on a rock by the stream and asked him from above. I'm coming. Toru Watanabe strode forward and caught up with them in a few steps. But then again, Rin Kiyono was really sly. In front of both parties she said something like, compared to you, I'm closer to Watanabe. Now he was actually a little happy to help her carry her bag. He felt like he was flying. Sure enough, he couldn't underestimate the daughter of a conglomerate. He also had to be careful of Miki Kujo. Things weren't looking good recently. He had almost forgotten about the imperial tea. Stepping on the bluestones, they walked along the stream and saw a small stream of water. It flowed at the speed of a bucket of water. It had a very impressive name, Loquat Waterfall. From the shrine nearby, they could faintly hear chanting. This path was very difficult to walk, especially for the girls in the city. They were so careful that it was as if there was an invisible abyss between two rocks. Toru Watanabe, on the other hand, was walking at a relaxed pace. He jumped from one rock to another, occasionally lowering his body and flipping over the rocks in the stream to see if there were any fish or crabs hiding below. I can't walk anymore. Let's take a break. Aoi Ichiki shouted. Toru Watanabe turned around and saw her lagging behind. The others also looked too tired to walk. Let's take a break. Rin Kiyono nodded. Toru Watanabe looked at her, who only had 3 stamina left. The others had already sat down to rest. Her clothes were drenched in sweat and her face was red, but she was still focused on taking pictures with her DSLR. Toru Watanabe jumped down and came to her side. You should take a break too. Okay. Rin Kiyono nodded slightly and organized the videos she had just taken. You're really stubborn. If you're so tired, why didn't you tell me to take a break earlier? It's nothing. Rin Kiyono replied indifferently. Toru Watanabe suddenly laughed. When he laughed, Rin Kiyono immediately looked at him coldly. Watanabe-san, what are you laughing at? I'm thinking about the time when school started and the 2 of us were running. At that time, both of them had 3 stamina. They were competing with each other on the track, and neither of them wanted to be last. Rin Kiyono also laughed and then said sarcastically, It's a pity that you betrayed me. No. At that time, there was no betrayal between us. We were enemies. Yoshimi Tamamo, who was sitting in the distance, pouted her lips at the 2 people who were laughing. Mayasahi and Asako Hanada stared at the smiling Toru Watanabe. The path up the mountain was covered with trees, and there were occasional gusts of wind. It was very comfortable to sit down and do nothing. But as soon as they took a few steps, even if there was no sun and there was a stream next to them, they would immediately sweat profusely and fall into a heatwave hell. At an altitude of 599 meters, they walked and stopped. When they reached the observation deck halfway up the mountain, the girls couldn't walk anymore and had to rest for a long time. The stone bench was hot from the sun. The girls brought a picnic cloth and spread it on the ground. They took out water and antiperspirant, and did all kinds of work. Toru Watanabe didn't rub his face on their picnic cloth. As a country bumpkin from Iwate Prefecture, he didn't mind the dirt on the ground, and directly sat under a maple tree that was relatively clean. He raised his head and poured the already warm oolong tea into his mouth. His Adam's apple moved and his throat made a swallowing sound. Phew! Toru Watanabe sighed in satisfaction. He saw Rin Kiyono pointing her SLR at him. He didn't know if she was taking a picture or recording a video. He shook the empty bottle at her. Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono's beautiful face appeared from behind the SLR. You can't do such a frivolous action. Frivolous? Toru Watanabe couldn't understand, showing off drinking half a bottle of water in one breath. How was that frivolous? Did Rin Kiyono understand the joke? My father only drank 1 sip. You have to look north. Rin Kiyono said something even more ambiguous. North. I don't miss home that much. Iwate Prefecture was far north of Mount Takao. Rin Kiyono sighed. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about your character. My character? On the surface, you're a silent and autistic teenager. In fact, you're just immersed in your own world. You want to be a professional performer. Even when you're resting, you're looking in the direction of Iwate Prefecture. You miss the happy times you spent with your childhood sweetheart, so you should be silently looking north. This is the first time I've heard of such a setting. Don't tell me you just came up with it. I'm so rude. I clearly wrote these things in the script. I didn't read the script. Rin Kiyono froze for a moment. Then she seemed to remember something, and her rosy face became a little shy. Wait. Toru Watanabe saw her evasive eyes. Did you forget to show me the script? Watanabe-san, please retake the scene just now. Don't waste time. Rin Kiyono hid her face behind the SLR. Her beautiful face wasn't big. Hiding behind the SLR, he couldn't see her expression at all. I thought you were learning the style of a great director and letting the actors act on their own. I'm so disappointed, Kiyono-san. Rin Kiyono glared at him fiercely. Follow the director's orders, Watanabe-san. Am I right? Look north. The other 4 girls were looking in their direction. Aoi Ichiki was whispering something. Yoshimi Tamama wanted to join in, but the weather was too hot to talk. Asako Hanada stared at the 2 girls, tightly holding the thermos with iced tea. Her cute little face frowned. Mayasahi stared motionlessly at the water bottle in Toru Watanabe's hand. She sucked on her own water bottle and took a sip. After taming Toru Watanabe, at Aoi Ichiki's request, Rin Kiyono and the other girls took pictures of each other. After resting for 15 minutes, they continued to climb up. Before reaching the top of the mountain, they passed by a suspension bridge. The valley was empty and secluded, with dense forests on both sides. There were even all kinds of mushrooms growing at the foot of the trees. A wooden suspension bridge in such an environment completely aroused the desire of director Rin Kiyono. Watanabe-san, I'll have to trouble you to walk across by yourself. When you reach the middle, remember to turn around and reveal a sad but happy smile. Director Sano Rin pointed at the suspension bridge under the sun. Toru Watanabe looked at her expression. A sad and happy smile? Are you taking revenge for what happened just now? I'm looking for an opportunity to take revenge on you. But don't worry, what I said just now was all for the movie. This is the scene after your death. You died in Tokyo's most prosperous Shinjuku district, but your final farewell was in the mountains, implying that the person you loved was your first love. How do you feel? If other people said this, Toru Watanabe would definitely think that they were deliberately looking for an excuse to take revenge on him. But he firmly believed every word Rin Kiyono said, except for the words that she scolded him. It makes sense, but the one who died is really not me. Go ahead. Rin Kiyono showed a happy smile. Toru Watanabe didn't know whether she was happy because of the inspiration or because of the verbal advantage. All right. As a professional actor, Toru Watanabe obediently followed the director's instructions and walked to the suspension bridge. Wait a minute. Rin Kiyono called out to him. Give me the bag first. Toru Watanabe returned the woven bag to her. The weather was hot, so the woven bag was still warmer than the body's temperature. Rin Kiyono was stunned when she held it, and then naturally put the bag back on her shoulder. When Toru Watanabe walked over, Asako Hanada couldn't help but ask, Kiyono-san, isn't Kujo-san the female lead? Why didn't she come? Today was just a shoot, but Watanabe-san came, so I shot some scenes at the last minute. Does Kujo-san know what happened today? Asako Hanada immediately asked. Rin Kiyono finished adjusting the exposure and other parameters, then turned around and said with a meaningful smile. So what if she doesn't know? If she doesn't know then, I don't think it's good. Asako Hanada clenched her small fists and gathered her courage to say. Don't worry. Rin Kiyono smiled faintly. Things aren't what you think, Hanada-senpai. Really? Yes. Watanabe and Kujo-san, the two of them. Is this place okay? Toru Watanabe's voice came from afar. Rin Kiyono looked over. Move back a little. It's okay right there. She raised her SLR and aimed it at Toru Watanabe, who was in the middle of the suspension bridge. The young man's back looked particularly tall and straight, and he walked alone toward the dark opposite shore. He suddenly turned around, and with a face full of excitement and joy, he pointed into the distance. Look, it's Ultraman's pyramid. Rin Kiyono put down her SLR and looked at Toru Watanabe with a gaze that was like a cold storm sweeping through the north and south poles. Toru Watanabe stopped smiling and silently turned around. This was really like the scene in the first episode of Diga, where Dega stood on the suspension bridge and looked at the pyramid. As a professional actor, he couldn't resist the urge to act on the spot. Most importantly, what exactly was a sad and blissful smile? Someone tell him. Chapter 120. How was it? Barely. Then why don't we try again? Toru Watanabe still suggested, since they would be exposed to the sun in the middle of the suspension bridge. Rin Kiyono had sacrificed a lot to make the movie, and there was no reason for him not to suffer. Moreover, since he had already done something, he naturally had to do it to the best of his ability. This was his own idea. Can I hear your opinions? Rin Kiyono looked at the four girls. Toru Watanabe really admired her. If he were to say to someone, "My relationship with you isn't as good as the other person's," he would be embarrassed to talk to that person as if nothing had happened. The girls gathered together to watch the original film. It's pretty good. Aoi Ichiki gave a thumbs up. It was unclear whether she was talking about the cinematography or Toru Watanabe. I think it's pretty good too. Asako Hanada said shyly. Yeah. Mayasahi nodded slightly. Only Yoshimi Tamamo pouted her lips that had just been moisturized and didn't say a word. It seems like there's no problem. Rin Kiyono confirmed again. That's good. Toru Watanabe reached out his hand to her. Do you want to see it? Rin Kiyono handed him the DSLR. Bag. Rin Kiyono took off the bag from her shoulder. Next time you ask me for something, please be more specific, Watanabe-san. Toru Watanabe looked at her cold eyes and gradually blushed cheeks and nodded subconsciously. This girl was too cute. Toru Watanabe had to admit that the reason why he was able to endure until he thought that never lying is not a stupid thing to do was mainly because of Rin Kiyono's beauty. After wasting time on the suspension bridge, Ultraman could have killed 5 monsters. Theoretically 15 minutes. They continued to move towards the mountain. Following the winding mountain path, they finally reached the top of the mountain at around 5 o'clock. Once they reached the top of the mountain, the girl immediately sat down on a chair, unable to move. After resting for a while, she began to sip water. Toru Watanabe stood on the observation deck and looked into the distance. In an instant, he felt as if he was looking into the distance. The weather was extremely clear. There was not a single cloud in the distance, and one could see the limits of one's eyesight. There were dark green mountains one after another. Occasionally, a city could be seen in the valley. Further away, there should be a large area of downtown Tokyo. In the farthest place, one could even see the snow-capped Mount Fuji. It was said that Mount Fuji was only open from July to September every year. Perhaps at this time, there was a climber looking over here with binoculars. Toru Watanabe waved at the binoculars, feeling that this trip was worth it. After looking around, he walked back to where the girls were. I'm sorry, the weather is so tropical. You guys came to climb the mountain. Rin Kiyono apologized to the 4 of them. It's okay. Yoshimi Tamamo waved her hand weakly. Yeah, it's not bad to go on a trip like this once in a while, right, senpai? Aoi Ichiki was trying to find a topic to talk about with Mayasahi, even when she was comforting others. Unfortunately, the one who answered her was Asako Hanada. Yeah, occasionally, I don't want to go to school, so I buy a ticket to travel around the country. I understand. I don't want to go to school either. Tamamo-san, I don't think the two of us mean the same thing, right? Toru Watanabe sat down on the chair next to them and looked up at the sky through the eaves of the Medicine King courtyard. Blue sky, white clouds, black eaves, and green maple leaves. The scene was very simple, but it was clean and beautiful. Do you want to drink? Toru Watanabe turned around. The one who spoke to him was Mayasahi. His gaze landed on her hand. That pair of slender, fair hands was holding the bottle that had already been unscrewed. The transparent liquid on the bumpy, jagged surface of the bottle cap shone brightly under the sunlight. Just as Toru Watanabe was wondering what the liquid was made of, My Asahi stuffed the bottle into his hand. Senpai, it's okay. You must be thirsty. Behind my Asahi, Asako Hanada's flushed face, Aoi Ichiki's gaping mouth, Yoshimi Tamamo's shocked expression, and Rin Kiyono's slightly furrowed brows. It was unclear whether it was out of doubt or dissatisfaction. No, I'm not thirsty. Toru Watanabe, who had finished his water halfway, responded. Oh. My Asahi looked at him without moving or saying anything. An atmosphere of "if you don't drink, I won't stop" filled the air. Masaki-senpai, even if you don't care about the surroundings, you still have to pay attention to the gender. Itsuki Mitsui was lying on top of Hanada Chouko, who was in the middle of the two, and she grabbed Asaki's hand. My Asahi first glanced at Aoi Ichiki indifferently, then slowly revealed a puzzled expression. Only Watanabe doesn't have water. Senpai is too natural. Last time, you leaned on him directly too. At the side, all the women were Oscars. That was what Toru Watanabe thought at that time. Because of his refusal, coupled with the unanimous objection of the girls, the natural senpai Mai gave up the idea of giving her water to Toru Watanabe. After resting, the girls entered the usual photo session, touching the octopus that could be used for luck, posing like models under the stairs of the temple, holding Mount Fuji in their palms, and so on. As they touched the octopus one by one, Toru Watanabe placed his hands on the 6 stone balls of tranquility and prayed sincerely. But even men can't achieve tranquility, right? Especially at the age of 16. No, that's not right. Even at the age of 60, it's impossible to achieve tranquility. You really do need tranquility. Rin Kiyono filmed this scene from the side. If luck can really be used, I think it's fine if I can't achieve tranquility. Toru Watanabe thought of the system that would be refreshed in a few days. I don't agree with the idea of placing your hopes on luck. Goddess Kiyono, are you saying that I should work hard to strengthen myself? No, I'm telling you to accept reality as soon as possible. As a goddess, you're too merciless. Seino Rin aimed his DSLR at the girl, and a smile appeared on his face. After the photo session, it was getting late. Everyone unanimously decided to give up on walking down the mountain. There were 2 ways to avoid walking. One was by hanging chairs, and the other was by a tram cable car, a carriage that ran on the mountain. What do you guys want to sit on? Rin Kiyono asked. Aoi Ichiki, hanging chairs. Yoshimi Tamamo, hanging chairs. My Asahi nodded. Hanging chairs. I'll take the cable car. Toru Watanabe said straightforwardly. There were a total of 6 people. If he wanted to sit on a hanging chair that could only seat 2 people, he had to sit with one of the girls. Although he couldn't achieve tranquility, he had to know where the bottom line was. No, you have to take the cable car. Rin Kiyono was determined. Why? I want to take a photo of you taking the cable car down the mountain alone. If that's the case, I have no objections. Give me the bag. After Rin Kiyono took back his knitted bag, he saw Toru Watanabe's dry lips. He thought for a moment, and took out his oolong tea. Just this once. Wait, if you suddenly give me the half-empty bottle of oolong tea with a shy expression, I'll be very troubled. Ugh. Rin Kiyono pressed the bottom of the bottle against the side of Toru Watanabe's face. Toru Watanabe's face, which was even more handsome than Minamoto's, twisted into a crooked smile. Are you an idiot? No. Absolutely. If you're not, then shut up. Take the drink and sit on the hanging chair. Yes, Minister. Seeing Toru Watanabe obediently take the oolong tea and walk over to the hanging chair, Seino Rin couldn't help but caress the corner of his mouth when he saw how hot the hanging chair was. Yoshimi Tamamo watched from the side with sparks in her eyes. In fact, other than Aoi Ichiki, the other 2 didn't look too happy. Only my Asahi's eyes, which were as clear as spring water in summer, flashed with a strange light. In the end, Aoi Ichiki and Yoshimi Tamamo, Asako Hanada and my Asahi, Rin Kiyono, and Toru Watanabe were divided into groups and sat on the hanging chairs to descend the mountain. Toru Watanabe didn't know how they were divided into groups, but the process must have been very interesting. Unfortunately, the competition between women was a very exciting thing. Mount Takau's crane was also very exciting because there were no protective poles. However, Most of the places weren't too high from the ground. If there was a valley below, there would be a protective net. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono, who was in front of him, and couldn't help but think, if a person fell, it would be fine, but if an DSLR fell, it would be finished, right? The DSLR would be finished. Regardless of whether the memory card could be saved, they didn't have enough money to buy another DSLR. This DSLR was secretly embezzled from the Wind Department's bonus. But no matter what, it was Rin Kiyono's business, and it had nothing to do with him. Toru Watanabe concentrated on enjoying the scenery on both sides. The green maple leaves were within reach, and the tall fir trees grew luxuriantly, beginning to be dyed with the scarlet sunlight, casting a warm shadow in the middle of the forest. After descending the mountain, they went to a shop called Takahashi's House to eat soba noodles. There were soba noodles and cold noodles to choose from, but in summer, they usually ate cold soba noodles. The noodles were placed separately, and they were picked up with chopsticks and rolled in the soup. The noodles were very chewy. The side dish, tempura, was also very delicious. It was sprinkled with sesame and chili noodles, delicious and filling. After wolfing down the noodles, the girls rushed into an Italian handmade ice cream shop and each of them bought an ice cream. Toru Watanabe went to buy roasted rice cakes. A pile of burning charcoal was a little distance away from a circle of straw ropes. The straw ropes were filled with rice cakes and rice balls. The outside was brown and the inside was very soft. It was delicious, but it was a little hot in summer. After eating, Aoi Ichiki proposed to go to the hot spring to relieve the fatigue of climbing, but she was rejected by everyone. Asako Hanada looked at the time. Sorry, I have a double bass cello class in the evening. I also have to go to cram school. School is about to start, and I have to prepare for the exam. Yoshimi Tamamo unconsciously played with the tip of her ponytail. Let's go back early. Everyone is very tired today. Rin Kiyono made the final conclusion. Okay. When the maple leaves turn red in autumn, we'll come back to the hot spring. Aoi Ichiki said regretfully. Compared to when they came, the express train back to Tokyo was even quieter. In less than 10 minutes, almost all the girls fell asleep. Toru Watanabe looked at the scenery outside the window and thought about the fact that school would start in 2 days. For the rest of the summer vacation, other than shooting scenes on campus, there was nothing else worth mentioning. While the other members of the playing department were busy preparing for the exam, Toru Watanabe was still practicing the oboe. The day before school started, he took his school uniform to a nearby laundry and asked someone to help him wash it and iron it again. On the night of the 31st, he carefully put his homework, textbooks, and stationery into his bag. Finally, he turned the page of the calendar that his mother bought. The summer vacation was officially over, and the new semester had begun. The classroom was noisy, and the hallway was full of noise. Everyone was chatting with each other, as if they were trying to save everything for today. Toru Watanabe sat by the window and wrapped the new book in a folder with the cartoon version of Sawamura Spencer Iriri from Passerby Heroine. So Watanabe likes young girls. Keisuke Saito, who hadn't seen him for a few days, took the initiative to come to a conclusion that Toru Watanabe was very uncomfortable with. How is that possible? If Reina didn't come out with a picture, I would definitely use her picture as the cover of the book. Toru Watanabe didn't want to tell anyone that he liked legs. Currently, only Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono knew about his special fetish. The former didn't need to be said. Just compare the frequency of Toru Watanabe touching the top and bottom, and this kind of thing was very clear. As for the latter, Toru Watanabe was making a final struggle. He would rather die than admit it. Reina? Who is that? Ueda Lina? I prefer Hanazawa Cilantro. Saying this, Kuniai Osamu grabbed his shirt, and without the slightest bit of heartache, he used his new book to rub the wind inside. I know Hanazawa Cilantro, but who is Ueda Lina? Toru Watanabe neatly stacked the new book on his desk. The temperature of the ink, the brand new paper, and the neatness of the book made Toru Watanabe feel a little satisfied. But it was only during this short period of time. In less than a week, he would definitely find a Mandarin exam that couldn't be found in the math book. You're talking about these boring things again. Keisuke Saito interrupted the conversation about Lena. Oh right, have you guys been playing any games recently? I bought a Nintendo Classic. You can play a lot of games from the blow-up cartridge era on it. Toru Watanabe took the opportunity to spend all of his allowance for the month when he went to the laundry. Osamu Kanai subconsciously said, "Isn't that a game for middle-aged men?" Ah. Keisuke Saito snatched the book from Osamu Kanai's hand and twirled it in his hand. I've been playing a new game recently. Want to play it tonight? What genre? I can't play too hardcore. Toru Watanabe preferred games like League of Legends, which were game after game. He had no interest in nurturing and farming. Of course, farming didn't count as nurturing. In PlayerUnknown's Battleground, 100 players landed on an island. They can pick up guns and ammo and kill each other. Sounds interesting. I'll give it a try when I'm free. Toru Watanabe nodded. Just carry the ammo and first aid kit for me. I killed 6 people last time. Osamu Kanai used the book as a gun and swept it around the classroom. If it was a real gun, Year 1 Class 4 would have been wiped out on the first day of the new semester. In the end, I won't be the one to get the chicken dinner. You just attack anyone you see. Keisuke Saito retorted. What's the point of getting the chicken dinner? Killing is the way to go. If you lose a game, you're still a loser no matter how many people you kill. Loser. Do you understand? A guy like you can only get the chicken dinner if you don't meet me. But I'm the one who gets the chicken dinner if you're in the game. Stop arguing, you two. When I, who can kill people and get the chicken dinner, you two can just be my obedient followers. Go to hell. Saito, get him. You two want to dance too? I'll show you the power of a kickboxing master, the only believer of Kiyono God. A boy's happiness was that simple. Chapter 121. Everyone, the class meeting is about to begin. Please return to your seats. Aona Koizumi walked in with her lesson plans. Toru Watanabe let go of Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito, who were begging for mercy. How did you become so strong? Osamu Kanai rubbed his shoulder. Because I do radio calisthenics every morning. Huh. Are you looking down on radio calisthenics? Today I'll tell you about its benefits. First, it can improve the function of the heart and lungs, promote blood circulation, supply oxygen to all parts of the body, and enhance the function of the organs. Second, the body's heat can improve the excretion function, reduce fatigue, reduce the accumulation of lactic acid, and maintain energy. Third, it's muscular, strong, and beautiful. Fourth, Watanabe. On the podium, Aona Koizumi called out to the people who were still whispering. I'll tell you after class. Who wants to know about that kind of thing? Aona Koizumi raised her voice. You guys. The 3 of them immediately shut up. After the classroom was completely quiet, Aona Koizumi's gaze swept across the classroom. How was your summer vacation? Training classes. I took the ferry to go fishing. Traveled abroad with my family. Stayed at home and did nothing. After a round of introductions, Aona Koizumi smiled and added a few words. Then, she invited a few of the freshly paid students to talk about the interesting things that happened during the summer vacation. Okay. Seeing that it was about time, she clapped her hands to quiet the classroom again. Have a good summer vacation, and work hard in the new semester. Now, I'll tell you about the general arrangements. First, tomorrow's opening exam. Even if they already knew, the classroom was still filled with howls. Aona Koizumi continued without emotion. This exam is still the joint examination of the 3 schools. While everyone listened to the exam arrangements carefully, Toru Watanabe clicked on the blue system interface. All this time, he would immediately check the system store for new items and skills in the early morning of the first day of every month. Although the items that were refreshed were not bad, they were all things that he could not use. Although Kiyono had said that one should not rely on luck, Toru Watanabe could not help but begin to believe in metaphysics. As the saying goes, the right time, the right place, and the right people. If you can't do it at night, you can change to the morning. If your family can't do it, you can come to school. If you can't do it yourself, you can rely on your classmates. I'm the chosen one, and I'm the only one. Toru Watanabe encouraged himself in his heart as he opened the shop. New item, Mask of the Delusional. Mask of the Delusional. Think about it in your heart before you put it on. In other people's eyes, your appearance will be replaced with your imagination. Hint. Change is limited to the face, single use lasts for 10 minutes, one mask can be used 5 times. He felt that it was a little useful, but also a little useless at the same time. Reality wasn't like television dramas where one could hide perfectly by changing one's face. One's voice and body shape would be too easily exposed. But it's not bad. Compared to fruit knife, weather forecast, and beautifying cream, it's better. Looks like metaphysics is still useful. At this time, Aona Koizumi had finished talking about the exam and allowed everyone to freely discuss the class program for the cultural festival. Watanabe, what do you think? Osamu Kanai excitedly leaned over. Let's go to the maid coffee shop. How many years ago was that? We'll definitely clash with the other classes. Keisuke Saito, who was sitting in front of Osamu Kanai, turned around and said, Isn't that better? We can see the maid outfits of the 2 classes of girls. Hey, the class cultural festival is not an activity for you to expose your sexual preferences. Watch your words. As the #1 liberal arts student, I'm telling you, the correct word here is hobby. What program do you want to host? A play. How about opening a shop? Selling fried noodles? Toru Watanabe paid some attention to their discussion as he looked at the light blue transparent interface that only he could see. Shin Yoko-sama, please protect your people. Skills, Beginner, Painting 100, Master, Video Editing 1000, Master, Acting 10,000, Master, Directing 100,000. Was Rin Kiyono a god or not? This was a question that was worth a lifetime of research. Watanabe, what's wrong? Seeing Toru Watanabe bury his face in his hands, Keisuke Saito was puzzled. Nothing. Toru Watanabe's voice came from his hands. It was more muffled than usual. I'm too tired from the summer vacation. My body is weak and I want to sleep. What did you do during the summer vacation? Weren't you practicing in the wind department? Osamu Kanai asked curiously. I went to the Yulan festival with my girlfriend and watched the fireworks. Rin Kiyono was there too. I went to the hospital on a hot day with Rin Kiyono, 3rd-year senior Mayasahi, 2nd-year senior Asako Hanada, and 1st-year senior Yoshimi Tamamo. Oh right, I also went to a dance party during the summer vacation. The wind department's training for 3 days and 2 nights was very tiring. Toru Watanabe sighed. Shall we break off our friendship? Osamu Kanai looked at Keisuke Saito. Yes. Keisuke nodded. Hey, it was really tiring. After the free discussion period, Aona Koizumi said, Let's discuss this carefully. We'll vote after the exam. Also, don't let your guard down for tomorrow's exam. If you fall behind, you'll have to attend tutoring. There's a vocabulary test in the afternoon. Those who haven't memorized it should hurry up. The morning classes pass quickly. The new book that they had just received was immediately filled with notes. At noon, the campus was bustling with activity. Toru Watanabe even saw the chorus department practicing in the courtyard. The social dance department was handing out flyers in front of the cafeteria. It was probably the film studies department shooting a movie. This was his competitor, so he took a second look. Dance party, I want to go. Idiot, do you have a dance partner? The 3 of them ate in a corner of the cafeteria. In the middle of the cafeteria, there was a flyer drawn by the manga research department for the social dance department. It read Frowny Face the 2nd day of the cultural festival at 3:30 p.m. The social dance department will book the entire gymnasium for an indoor dance party. Invite your beautiful or handsome dance partner to come and dance with us. The manga research department will release original manga, doujinshi manga, and campus manga. You are welcome to purchase. What was the social dance department's background? The executive committee of each class hadn't even been elected yet. The school festival's executive committee hadn't even started yet, but they had already booked the gymnasium at 3:30 p.m. The next day? Were they university students who used books to take up seats? Or did they have someone in the student council? Watanabe, tell me, how can I get a girlfriend? Osamu Kunai asked as he ate. Toru Watanabe ate a mouthful of shredded pork with green pepper. Shameless. Shameless? Listen, Koi. Waiting for a woman to take the initiative to come to you is like waiting for a rabbit to fall into a tree stump. It's impossible, unless it's a very, very handsome guy. When pursuing girls, you have to treat them like princesses. Do you understand what that means? Osamu Kunai shook his head. Keisuke Saito drank the miso soup and looked up from the bowl to stare at Toru Watanabe. It's like the princesses in Disney. Most of them stay in the castle and wait for the prince to take the initiative to come to them. Even if it's Cinderella, the prince will take the initiative to find her. Even the prince will take the initiative, let alone us ordinary people? Yes. Keisuke Saito swallowed the miso soup and looked like he suddenly realized something. Watanabe, you took Kujo classmate because of this, right? That's right. So if you want to have a girlfriend, you can't just talk about it. Toru Watanabe ate a mouthful of crispy vegetables. This ball is an opportunity. Take the initiative to invite the person you like. Boys who wait for a girl to invite them are idiots. Do you understand? Thinking back carefully, when he pursued Miki Kujo, the real-life princess, didn't he take the initiative to shamelessly attack her? It's just that his goal wasn't the princess herself, but points and revenge. However, it was true that he took Miki Kujo with his shamelessness and 9,990 points of handsomeness. From this, Toru Watanabe concluded that being shameless was very important. I understand. Osamu Kunai took a big bite of the fried pork chop, and the fried golden flour fell into the bowl. After the entrance exam, I'll invite Aoi Ichiki classmate. Wait. Good luck, I support you. Keisuke Saito, who was also a patient, showed an expression of support for Osamu Kunai's participation in the first batch of human trials. That. Toru Watanabe stopped in the middle of picking up the shredded pork. Forget it. Just like the dish of shredded pork with green pepper, only adult winners had the right to choose whether to eat green pepper or not. Everyone else, even children, had to get used to the taste of green pepper. Toru Watanabe, who had been talking nonsense and knew that Aoi Ichiki was a lesbian, stuffed the shredded pork with green pepper into his mouth as an apology. Even though he didn't hate green pepper. After lunch, Toru Watanabe strolled alone to the activity classroom of the Human Observation Department. The entrance exam was tomorrow, but all the students he met in the corridor were completely immersed in the excitement of school and the upcoming school festival. Maybe it was because there was only one day, and no amount of hard work would make it in time? Or maybe it was because this was the entrance exam, and no matter how well they did, they just needed to work hard from now on to pass? He opened the door of the Human Observation Department, and saw the beautiful girl by the window reading an English original called Split-Screen Scripting Design, and the princess on the sofa playing games. As members of the top 3 in the grade, they stopped filming before the exam ended. It's so lively outside. No one paid attention to him. Toru Watanabe didn't care. He took the Spanish learning materials from Miki Kujo's bookshelf, sat down on his chair, and began to study seriously. After a while he heard Rin Kiyono getting up and dragging her chair. Toru Watanabe looked up. Is class starting? Yes. Rin Kiyono answered softly and walked towards the door. Yes. Toru Watanabe stretched his body, which had been motionless all this time. He drank the tea beside him in one gulp and looked at Miki Kujo, who was sleeping on the sofa. He put down the teacup and slowly walked over. Miki Kujo was only 162 centimeters tall, but her proportions were perfect, so her body looked slender and slender as she lay on the sofa. A pair of beautiful legs poked out of her school skirt, and the front of her shirt was wrinkled because of her sleeping posture. Further up was the square pillow she was hugging. Her beautiful face was pressed against it, and her delicate eyebrows could be seen through the gaps between her black hair. A strand of hair fell between her lips. Toru Watanabe's gaze followed this strand of black hair back to her cherry-colored lips. It was hard to imagine that it was these soft and seductive lips that gave countless bloody orders. He was also one of the victims. Toru Watanabe reached out his right hand and pinched her cheek with a hint of savagery. Miki Kujo's lips slowly retracted, and finally, with a soft pop sound, she pouted. Near the inner edge of her lips, he could see a small piece of pink inside her mouth, moist and shiny, like a freshly washed cherry. Toru Watanabe's hand tightened and loosened, and this cherry would mischievously jump out and hide in his mouth. After a few moments, Miki Kujo stared at him coldly. Toru Watanabe kissed her and bit the cherry. Class is about to start. I don't want to go. Miki Kujo lazily used Toru Watanabe as a bed, and leaned her head on his chest. Then I have to go. Toru Watanabe pretended to get up, but Miki Kujo opened her right hand and pressed it on his face, pushing him back onto the sofa. What's the point of going to class? The first period in the afternoon is English, and there's a word test. Boring. Stay with me to catch up on my sleep. At 3:40 in the afternoon, after the last class, Toru Watanabe was called to the office. Huang Zi was eating pieces of fruit with a knife and fork, and from time to time, as if he was craving Toru Watanabe, he smiled and slowly put the fruit into his mouth. Toru Watanabe, who was punished to stand, looked away and looked at the English word test that Aona Koizumi was marking. Teacher, suspicion is missing Anne's. Aona Koizumi's red pen paused for a moment, and then she marked Osamu Kanai's paper with a tick. After marking Class 4's paper, she took out a stack and started marking Class 1's paper. Toru Watanabe was so bored that he memorized the words on every page of the textbook, and then matched the names on the papers with the photos in his memory. He also saw Rin Kiyono's paper. Even though it was the same paper, her paper seemed to be cleaner. The English letters were also very beautiful, and were written in a beautiful style that was completely different from Toru Watanabe's print style. When Aona Koizumi was marking her paper, she almost didn't look at it, and just drew circles all the way. Toru Watanabe quickly memorized the paper, and then he recalled the letters one by one, but unfortunately, he couldn't find any mistakes. The last paper was Yoshimi Tamamo's paper. She made 3 mistakes, and barely needed to retake the test. At most, 2 mistakes could be made. Osamu Kanai was the same. Toru Watanabe helped. Aona Koizumi finished marking the test paper, and neatly placed it in the corner of the table, near the pots of meatballs that were still alive. And then she capped the red pen and put it in the pen holder. After doing all this, she turned around, took out a test paper and a pen, and handed it to Toru Watanabe. Now do it. Okay. Toru Watanabe looked around, ready to find a place where he could bend down and write. Here. Huang Zi stood up warmly, but the smile on her face was not friendly, and it was full of ridicule. Thank you, teacher. Toru Watanabe sat down in her seat, quickly wrote his name and student number, and then began to write the words from memory. Huang Zi walked to Aona Koizumi's side with fruit and chatted with her. Students nowadays are like this in school, skipping class to go on dates. Aona Koizumi glanced at Toru Watanabe, who was immersed in writing. Huang Zi continued. Who dared to do this at that time? Pretending to be sick and sleeping in the infirmary was still scared. Aona Koizumi's fingers tapped on the table. How many times has he done it? Huang Zi took a bite of the juicy cantaloupe. The first time. Aona Koizumi said this, but she remembered that during the training, Toru Watanabe sneaked into the girls' dormitory. She began to hesitate whether to let Toru Watanabe write a guarantee. If there is a first time, there will be a second time, I suggest. Teacher, I'm done. Toru Watanabe hurriedly interrupted Huang Zi and walked over with the test paper. So fast. Aona Koizumi asked subconsciously and took the test paper. He wrote it in a hurry, but the handwriting was neat. Aona Koizumi did not look at it carefully and just glanced at it perfunctorily. Toru Watanabe's English test paper was usually used as a reference for her to grade the test papers. On the other hand, Huang Zi, the English teacher of Class 2, ate some fruit and looked over one by one. Watanabe. Aona Koizumi looked up. Yes. Where did you and Kujo-san skip class? That's right. Why did you kidnap Kujo from our class? Huang Zi looked over. Miki is not in good spirits. I watched over her and did nothing. Toru Watanabe felt wronged. He thought that he was in class because he was being held down and could not leave, and it had nothing to do with him. The most annoying thing was that he could not say this reason. Then why didn't you go to the infirmary? Yeah, why didn't you go to the infirmary? Huangzi, who had just taken a bite of the cantaloupe, agreed, and the juice in her mouth splashed onto Aona Koizumi. Aona Koizumi looked at her, and Huangzi put the cantaloupe into Aona Koizumi's mouth with an apologetic and fawning smile. Aona Koizumi chewed the cantaloupe, and looked at Toru Watanabe again. Teacher, I really didn't do anything. Toru Watanabe really didn't do anything other than moving his hands and mouth at the beginning. He slept most of the time. Is that really the case? Even if I really wanted to skip class, I wouldn't skip English class. I like you the most, Koizumi teacher. How could I skip your class? Be careful. The words of a handsome Tokyo guy are not to be trusted. Huangzi was like Aona Koizumi's devil incarnation, constantly saying words that would start a war in her ear. Toru Watanabe made an expression of submission. Teacher Huangzi, I was wrong. Ha ha ha. Huangzi laughed happily. Yes, yes, young man, I forgive you, go back. Okay. Toru Watanabe took advantage of the situation, and slipped out of the door. Aona Koizumi said to Toru Watanabe's back. I won't allow it next time. Yes, 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 teacher, don't worry. I bet that he'll still dare to do it next time, just because you like him. Huangzi was indeed a devil, immediately going back on her words and attacking back. Take care of the kujo in your class. Aona Koizumi rolled her eyes at her friend. Huh? You think it's the kujo in our class who seduced him? I think so. Watanabe is a good kid. Forget it. You won't understand. Give me back my cantaloupe. Chapter 122. On Friday of the first week of school, there was a class meeting after the last exam. According to the previous arrangement, today was the day to decide on the cultural festival class activities, and to elect the class executive committee. The person presiding over this meeting and standing on the podium was not Aona Koizumi. It was not clear how other schools set the rules, but Kamigawa Private High School had always maintained that the cultural festival was a student's holiday, so whether it was the class activities or the executive committee, it was all up to the students. The male class monitor and female class monitor stood on the podium. In front of Toru Watanabe, Kazumi Ikeda, who could dance the theme song of Cherry Maru, was the female class leader. After she went up, Aona Koizumi sat in her seat. Keisuke Saito and Osamu Kanai sat motionless like primary school students. Stage play. Shooting game. Haunted house. Divination. The male class monitor, who was not familiar with them, announced the votes, while Kazumi Ikeda was responsible for recording them. The blackboard was filled with various activities. Last vote, made fried noodle shop. After that, the male class monitor, whose name he forgot, pushed up his glasses and leaned closer to the paper. Like an 80-year-old man reading tiny words, he read word by word. P.S. Bunny Girl is also fine. Hey, so disgusting, who is it? Maid aside, there's even a bunny girl. It must be a boy. If I knew, I would have written this too. Damn it. This sentence came from a boy in a dark corner in the back row. In the midst of the discussion, Keisuke Saito subconsciously turned around and looked at Toru Watanabe with an expression that said, You really wrote this? Aona Koizumi also turned around and leaned close to Toru Watanabe's face. She asked in a low voice, Watanabe, what did you write? Her voice was very pleasant, so soft that it seemed to melt the ears. Haunted house. Toru Watanabe answered without looking away. I went to Fujiku theme park to play, and it was pretty good. Aona Koizumi nodded. Me and Huangzi went there too, it was too scary. I couldn't handle it either, I was scared last time, but Rin Kiyono was even worse, he kept. Aona Koizumi's eyes became meaningful. Toru Watanabe shut his mouth and looked from her oval face to the blackboard. As you can see, the stage play got the most votes, the male class monitor announced. After deciding on the stage play, after some discussion, everyone decided to use an original script. As for the selection of male and female leads, first, is there anyone who wants to give it a try? Ikeda Kazumi asked with both hands on the podium. There was complete silence. Ikeda Kazumi looked at Toru Watanabe. Watanabe-kun, it's a pity that you're not the male lead. How about you? Very well. I agree. What's the role? Prince? Knight? Mystery man? Killer? What should I do? I want to see any of the costumes. Wait. Toru Watanabe quickly interrupted the girls who had begun to imagine a bright future. What's wrong? Koizumi asked. You don't like prince or knight? Do you want to try princess or queen? I recommend Cinderella. Ah, that's also very good. You're the class monitor. If Kun Watanabe dresses as a woman, I'm willing to lend my clothes to him. Wait. Toru Watanabe stood up under Aona Koizumi's mischievous eyes. He said in a voice that covered everyone. I've joined 2 clubs, and each club has activities. I really don't have time to play the male lead, and I may not even have time to memorize the script. I really can't. But a girl sitting in the front row said pitifully, Kun Watanabe only participates in club activities. Aren't class activities important? That's not what I mean. The club activities are really busy. I'm from the blowing club, I can prove it. Yes, Jiangchuan classmate, help me say a few words. Kun Watanabe sneaks away every afternoon, so he has a lot of time. You must play the male lead. Play the male lead. The girls were so loud that Toru Watanabe could do nothing, and had to look at Aona Koizumi for help. Okay. Aona Koizumi signaled the girls to be quiet. If Watanabe doesn't like it, then forget it. Actors still have to ask for the consent of the actor. That's right. And those who propose the stage play must have a heart to play. I think we should try to choose actors from them. Koizumi-sensei is biased towards Kun Watanabe. Koizumi pouted and complained childishly. That's not true. Aona Koizumi smiled bitterly. I'm just respecting the wishes of the actor. If Watanabe doesn't agree, then don't force him. Since the teacher said so, the girls had to give up democratic violence. After a while, they finally decided on a candidate, and the script was handed over to a girl who liked to read. This girl was also the class library committee member. These guys were like this, thinking that other people liked to read. They thought that she was good at writing, just like thinking that the handsome Toru Watanabe should be the male lead. Toru Watanabe was not interested in the male lead at all. He only wanted to be the Prime Minister of Japan. What a joke. Next, let's start the selection of the executive committee. Is there anyone who wants to take the initiative? No one. Every student in Godschuan High School had to join a club. In addition, there were activities in the class. It was so happy to work hard for activities with like-minded people who knew each other. Why did they have to suffer in the executive committee, where no one knew them? It was really suffering. Even in China's University Student Union, the first years would be ordered around, not to mention Japan, where the seniority system was strict. In the executive committee that covered the first to third years, how could the second years be expected to run errands? Running errands was considered easy. It only required physical strength and time. What was more difficult was being asked to go door to door to ask for sponsorship. If no one is willing, then we can only draw lots. The male class monitor pushed his glasses that were starting to slide down again. Watanabe. Aona Koizumi looked at Toru Watanabe. Teacher. Go and try. No. Aona Koizumi laughed. You didn't participate in any class activities, right? You have to do something. That's not what you said just now. But he really didn't do anything compared to the male lead who wore female clothes. Running errands for the executive committee was nothing. Toru Watanabe treated it as training. Okay. She agreed. What about the girls? Like the class monitor and the library committee member, the executive committee members were also divided into males and females. Me. I want to challenge myself. This is a good opportunity to train. I want to test my organizational skills. The boys. After confirming the female committee member, Aona Koizumi walked back to the podium. From today onwards, the school will be completely open to all students. The closing time at night will be cancelled. Everyone can work hard for the cultural festival, but you have to study hard, especially those who will be taking the vocabulary test again next week. After the class meeting, Tetsumaisa Watanabe was about to pack his bag and go to the human observation department, but he was called out by Aona Koizumi. Teacher, is there something wrong? Do you know why I recommended you to be an executive committee member? Afraid that I'll be isolated, shirking away from class activities, but taking the initiative to do work that no one wanted to do. This could achieve a balance of favorability. Isolated? Aona Koizumi repeated, puzzled. No. You're so popular. You're so popular. How could you be isolated? It's hard to say. I was isolated in the human observation department. You found out about the affair? Aona Koizumi looked surprised. No, I'm just kidding. We have a good relationship. Aona Koizumi rolled her eyes at him. You should familiarize yourself with the work of an executive committee member first. When you're in your second year, I recommend you to be the chairman. You'll get extra points for the university recommendation. So that's why, but even if you don't recommend me, I can still get in. What if you get sick during the exam? Are you willing to be a loafer for a year? The recommendation can be used as insurance. Why didn't I think of that? You're so smart. Toru Watanabe flattered. You can say that to your Mickey and Ling. Aona Koizumi retorted in annoyance. It's okay, teacher, you're mine too. Aona Koizumi knocked the lesson plan on Toru Watanabe's head. How can you talk to your teacher like that? What I mean is, you're my teacher. Toru Watanabe exaggeratedly covered the place where he was knocked. You can't omit the object here, deduct points. No, I really can't. Only English, only Koizumi's class. I must get full marks. Okay, teacher knows. After learning about the teacher's good intentions, Toru Watanabe took his bag and walked towards the club building. Class 3 was still in a meeting, arguing about the cultural festival. Class 2 had already left, Class 1 had just finished, and a large group of people was pouring out. Kiyono, are you in the corridor on the 3rd floor? Yes, sorry to trouble you. It's okay, we offered to help. I'll wait for you in the trumpet department. Okay. Rin Kiyono, who was being pestered by Yoshimi Tamamo, walked out and bumped into Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono glanced at him, and continued to walk forward as if nothing had happened. Yoshimi Tamamo glared at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe originally wanted to mock her with the English vocabulary test, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. He didn't need to be arrogant in front of girls. After separating from Yoshimi Tamamo, Toru Watanabe didn't catch up with Rin Kiyono, but silently followed behind her. Her long black hair was like lead powder, her slender waist, and every time her skirt swayed, he could vaguely see her long white legs. Is this the fun of tailing? Toru Watanabe suddenly thought. He didn't know if it was because his gaze was too disgusting, but Chinyi Rin seemed to have sensed it and stopped walking. After a moment of silence, Toru Watanabe still didn't overtake her. She sighed and turned her head. Watanabe classmate. Yes? What's wrong, Kiyono classmate? Can I trouble you to walk in front? No need, I don't like it. Before Toru Watanabe could finish his words, Rin Kiyono glared at him fiercely. Come here. Toru Watanabe walked in front of Rin Kiyono like a prisoner. Because he lost the fun of tailing, and because he was afraid of being stared at from behind, Toru Watanabe had nothing to say. Kiyono classmate, what kind of activity is your class planning to hold? A restaurant. Made fried noodles? What answered him was a helpless sigh with a headache. Is it or not? Toru Watanabe asked. Has the common sense in your head finally been invaded by breasts and legs? Cooking isn't just about fried noodles. Fried noodles aren't important, is it a maid or not? Hurry up, I'm very curious. Rin Kiyono's weak voice came. No. Then I suggest adding a maid to ensure that Class 1 gets first place in the best activity of the cultural festival. Maybe you'll think that I like maids or something, but that's not the case at all. I'm sincerely thinking for Class 1, for the diversity of Kanagawa High School's cultural festival. Kiyono classmate? Are you still there? Hello. Mosi Mosi? Watanabe classmate. Ah, so you're still here. I was worried that you accidentally fell down the stairs. Thank you for your concern. Although he couldn't see, based on Toru Watanabe's understanding of Rin Kiyono, she should have nodded politely here. She continued. I think it's not impossible for you to become the Prime Minister. Let's not talk about whether you're good at learning or not, but once you've made up your mind, you'll work hard, you're smart enough, and you have enough interpersonal relationships. In addition, here her tone was slightly heavier. You have enough desire, and most importantly, you're especially good at talking nonsense, and you'll tell lies the moment you open your mouth. Hard work and intelligence are indeed the necessary conditions to become the Prime Minister. You're still missing one point. I'm handsome enough. There should be a lot of women voting for me. Do you only listen to the words you like when you talk to others? I can't help it. I'm just like that. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. Compared to a gentle boy who's nice to everyone, don't you think it's easier for me to capture the heart of a young lady? I agree with the first half of the sentence, but the second half? What's wrong with the second half? Do you want to die in the second half? The distance from the third floor of Kanagawa High School's teaching block to the fifth floor of the club building was about the time it took for this conversation to take place. The two of them walked into the human observation department one after the other. Miki Kujo took off her shoes and lay on the sofa. Her slender legs were crossed, and her snow-white toes were moving up and down cutely. Toru Watanabe glanced at her and noticed that she had casually tossed her black stockings on the floor. Rin Kiyono took out her notebook from her bag. After Toru Watanabe's death, the female lead spent a lot of time in school. This is the scene we're filming today. Toru Watanabe was speechless. Miki Kujo responded. First, we'll shoot the empty corridor. That's where Toru Watanabe practiced his oboe when he was alive. But now, only other people are practicing other instruments. Toru Watanabe stared blankly at the gap between Miki Kujo's thighs under her pleated skirt, absent-mindedly listening to the two of them talking about the scene. That's it. Let's go. Rin Kiyono closed her notebook and picked up her DSLR. Miki Kujo sat up lazily. She didn't even put on her socks and directly put her bare feet into her indoor shoes. Toru Watanabe held the long pole microphone in his right hand, and the newly bought reflector in his left. He followed behind the two of them, and began to train his ability to do chores. It's okay. Abe and Ivy-chan used to be secretaries as well. Was being a secretary equal to doing chores? Toru Watanabe wasn't sure, but it should be more or less the same. It was just doing chores for important people, so it sounded nice to call them secretaries. Chapter 123. September 5th, Saturday. Rin Kiyono carefully put on her shirt and pleated skirt, sat on her bed, put her stockings on her legs, and adjusted them to a comfortable position. She grabbed her backpack and DSLR camera, and left her apartment. Her backpack was a bit heavy. She put in split-shot script design and master lens, 100 advanced techniques for making blockbuster films at a low budget. The morning air was cold, but even though it was already autumn, the temperature hadn't dropped yet. Not only was it not cold, but it was also refreshing. She didn't go to school. She woke up earlier than usual and prepared to see if there were any suitable shooting locations near Shitani Station. Rin Kiyono smiled as she passed by people taking their dogs for a walk. She took a picture of a fully loaded motorcycle that almost flipped over when turning a corner. She had a premonition that with so many goods and such a fast speed, there was a high chance that the motorcycle would flip over. She was going to get a good shot of life. As soon as she left her apartment, she received some goods. She walked into a narrow alley with a faint sense of expectation. The alley was an uphill road with dense steps. There were residential areas on both sides, and she could smell the aroma of fried eggs. She heard the sound of people on the other side of the alley. Several elderly people were doing their morning exercises. Because the road was really narrow, she had to stand in the middle of a family's potted plants and give way to them. The elderly people smiled kindly at her. Girls these days are still polite. That's right. That boy has no manners at all. Didn't he say he was from the countryside? The same place as Hokkaido. Rin Kiyono watched the elderly people disappear around the corner of the alley. She continued to walk up the stairs. When she walked out of the alley, it suddenly widened. There was a shrine in front of her. A flock of pigeons were pecking at the sailor's house. She climbed up the stairs to the left of the shrine. Rin Kiyono walked towards the shrine with the idea that she might be able to get a shot here. When she got closer, she discovered that there was also a long flight of stairs in front of the shrine. At the top of the stairs, a boy with sweat dripping from his hair was sitting there, drinking from a bottle of soda. Rin Kiyono couldn't help but smile as she took a picture of this scene with her DSLR camera. The side of his face was bathed in the rising sun, so delicate and handsome that it made it difficult for people to breathe. Even the sweat that should have been dirty looked cute. After taking the shot, she sauntered over and looked down at him from above. "Good morning." The young man sat on the ground and did not move. He turned his upper body and raised his head slightly. "When I suddenly heard such a beautiful voice, I thought that the goddess of the shrine had come out. So it's Kiyono-sama." However, the young man kept looking up at her skirt, so Qingyi Rin chose to sit down. She made sure that she wouldn't be exposed and sat down on the steps, keeping a distance of 2 people from the young man. "The old man was talking about you, right?" Rin Kiyono said with certainty. "Old man? What old man?" "It was a lie," Rin Kiyono continued. "There are 3 grannies who are over 60 years old. I didn't see them at all." The young man was confused. "I heard from the shrine's master that the pigeons have been eating poorly recently. Maybe it's because there are ghosts passing by." "Kiyono-san, did you see something you shouldn't have seen? I suddenly feel like drinking some vegetable juice. Can you go by yourself this time? I'm really tired. Look at how sweaty I am. If you intend to be someone who doesn't keep their promises, I'm fine with going." "You're really something." The young man went to the vending machine to buy some vegetable juice. This was his punishment for lying all the time. Rin Kiyono looked into the distance. Telephone poles crisscrossed the narrow road, and the leaves of the trees in the residential area were green. 2 female high school students in kendo uniforms were chatting as they walked towards the bus station. On the wide-angle mirror at the corner, she saw a red taxi with an Adachi district license plate driving away. "Here. Thank you." Rin Kiyono saved the video, placed the DSLR camera on her knees, and took the vegetable juice from the young man. The 2 of them stared at the scenery in the distance for a while, until the young man finished his soda and broke the silence. "Why are you here? Are you following me?" Rin Kiyono loosened her lips from the straw. "Before you say that, can you stop your criminal behavior and look away from my legs? What are you talking about? I'm just wondering why your socks are wet." Although it wasn't the truth, it wasn't a lie either. Rin Kiyono followed his gaze. There were a few inconspicuous water stains on her stockings, the kind that couldn't be seen unless she stared hard. She must have accidentally brushed against a watered potted plant when she was making way for the old man. "Thank you for your reminder, but please look away from my disgusting sight. Who cares? Really? I'm leaving." The young man stood up, patted his butt, and ran down the stairs, disappearing into the alley. After taking a shower, Toru Watanabe changed into his school uniform and boarded the school's tram. Although it was Saturday, whether it was a club activity or the executive committee, he had to go. It seemed that after obtaining the system, he wasn't as happy as before. Although he had a lot of money and a beautiful girlfriend, it had been a long time since he went out with his friends on the weekends. He couldn't work to make money and couldn't go home during the summer vacation. Toru Watanabe glanced at the system that he usually ignored. It had shrunk into a transparent button. He hoped that it could understand his feelings of sadness, and then be more self-aware next month to give him useful items and skills. He got off the car, went up the ramp, and arrived at the school. In the morning, there was still music training. After the training ended, everyone was still unsatisfied. "Ah, so annoying. Why do we have to perform for 30 minutes at such a crucial time?" Yeah, the school festival is important, but compared to the national competition, it's far less important. The competition is in October, there's not enough time. Can't we just perform the competition piece? Should we talk to the principal? The head already tried, it's useless. Everyone complained as they packed up their instruments. After becoming Kanto's representative and being confirmed to participate in the national competition, they became obsessed with music, completely different from before. When Toru Watanabe first joined the club, he couldn't imagine that he would see them complain about not having time to practice. From this incident, he could see that Rin Kiyono was a very amazing person. Of course, his scapegoat secretary was also not bad. It wouldn't be a problem to replace him in the future. After thinking about it for a while, Toru Watanabe gathered his thoughts and used his finger to press the keys according to the rhythm, simulating the sound in his mind. At this time, Keiru Hayami with a gentle voice spoke to him. Koen Watanabe, what do you think? Toru Watanabe didn't stop his finger movements and replied. Maybe because we entered the national competition, the band was asked to perform for 30 minutes. Why? If it was still as bad as before, to the point of waking up people who were sleeping, the people who could decide the performance time wouldn't be so stupid as to let them perform for more than 5 minutes. Of course, this reason couldn't be given. After all, Kamigawa is very famous. Every year, many people from outside of school come to visit the cultural festival, especially those who are preparing to take the high school entrance exam and their parents. When I first applied, I also used the cultural festival as one of the factors to consider. I see. Keiru Hayami nodded. This is indeed something to consider, then we have to work hard. That's right. After practicing for a while, Toru Watanabe estimated that it was about time, so he took off the whistle. Good morning, senior, I'll go first. Okay. After Toru Watanabe left, Yoshimi Tamamo poked her head over and put her chin on Keiru Hayami's shoulder. He left again. If it's Watanabe-kun, he should have already played the song very well. Hajime Keiru pinched the footer of the music score and flipped to Red Lotus, which she wasn't very familiar with. There's nothing we can do about it. Another girl playing the trombone said. Toru Watanabe and Kiyono classmate are the same. We need 3 hours to do something, but they might only need 5 to 10 minutes. Although people who can enter Kamigawa are very smart, they are the real geniuses. Don't think like that. Keiru Hayami said. We should be glad that they are a team with us, working hard for the same goal. We should hope that they are better. Kiyono classmate, I can think like that, but that guy Toru Watanabe, I definitely won't admit it. Yoshimi Tamamo puffed up her cheeks, feeling a strange feeling coming from her sullied butt. Keiru Hayami poked her beautiful face with his finger, feeling that it was very cute. Toru Watanabe would forget about the music section when he walked out of the music room, so it didn't matter what they thought of him. The school festival executive committee will start operations from today. On the way to the meeting, he could hear a lot of noise coming from the school building. Many students came to school on Saturday for the cultural festival. Arriving at the meeting room that was notified in advance, Toru Watanabe ignored other people's gazes and sat down in the corner. Kanagawa High School's meeting room was different from a public school's. In a public school's meeting room, the students' use is more ordinary, but the teacher's table and chairs are more advanced. But in Kanagawa High School, whether it's the teachers or the students, the space and configuration is more advanced. Feeling the softness of the chair, Toru Watanabe took out his phone from his pocket and played a music game out of boredom. He came early and played a few rounds, but only half of the people in the meeting room were there. They gathered in 2s and 3s, and some of the male and female representatives of the classes took the opportunity to talk and laugh, as if the cultural festival was a honeymoon trip. The female executive committee member of Year 1 class 4 hasn't said a word to Toru Watanabe since the beginning of the school year, and is now chatting with friends from the club. As the time of the meeting approached, more and more people came to the meeting room, but still no one talked to Toru Watanabe. But it doesn't matter, he's not the only unwelcome guy. There are also a few male and female freedom fighters who are also alone. The environment became more and more noisy. Toru Watanabe slightly frowned. He was hoping that the meeting would start soon. Just as he was thinking, the door of the meeting room was pushed open, and the noisy chatter suddenly became much quieter. Rin Kiyono, holding a book in her hand, walked in with awe-inspiring steps. Her long hair fluttered, her back was straight, Even if they didn't know her identity as the eldest daughter of the Kiyono family, no one dared to look down on her. Rin Kiyono's eyes slightly looked around the meeting room. When she saw Toru Watanabe, she froze for a moment, then walked straight to him. It wasn't until she walked into the corner area that the others started to talk again. Ah, it seems that we have the same thought. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and said condescendingly, "You're also thinking about whether or not to go to the bathroom before the meeting starts?" Rin Kiyono slightly adjusted her emotions. "You also deliberately came to the executive committee because you don't want to participate in the class activities, right? Don't compare me to you. I came here to get extra points for the university recommendation and to fight for the future." Lies. After Rin Kiyono said this without giving him any face, she sat down with Toru Watanabe on the side and opened the book, split-screen script designed to read. Toru Watanabe glanced at her profile. He was also surprised to see Rin Kiyono here. The two of them didn't talk about the executive committee member in the activity room, otherwise they would have come together after the music section training. But the female executive committee member of Class 1 and the male executive committee member of Class 4 walking together was too inappropriate. Was it really going to develop into an extramarital affair? Thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem impossible. The equipment, the office, even if both of them were to seek sponsorship. In the next moment, Toru Watanabe stopped his delusional thoughts. The meeting room was completely silent. Only the sound of footsteps could be heard. It was as if a powerful aura was saying, "Quiet down." Miki Kujo crossed her arms and stepped on the floor of the meeting room. This was too strange. Even the filming was done on a budget. Why would Miki Kujo join the executive committee? Was she here to catch him in the act? Toru Watanabe, who had a notorious record, almost showed a guilty expression. Fortunately, he was already familiar with Rin Kiyono, and after his shameful deeds were exposed many times, his tolerance was far higher than the average person's. Miki Kujo walked over. "Miki, looks like we want to go together." Toru Watanabe took the initiative to greet her. "What are you thinking about?" Miki Kujo sat down beside him, her legs naturally crossed under her skirt. "You came to the executive committee because you don't want to participate in the class activity, right?" Rin Kiyono stopped flipping through his book. "Because my mother knows that I'm filming a movie, and suddenly said that she wants to come and take a look, so the cultural festival has to be under my control. Auntie is coming, then I have to perform well." "Auntie?" Miki Kujo glanced at Toru Watanabe. "You have to call her mother." Rin Kiyono rubbed his forehead, feeling that he couldn't focus on his book. Before the person in charge of the meeting arrived, Toru Watanabe continued playing the music game. Miki Kujo propped up her chin with her hand, watching him play with great interest. Occasionally, when the music reached its climax and the buttons appeared like rain, she would use her feet, which had taken off her shoes at some point, to disturb him with shameless poses under the table. Whenever Toru Watanabe made a mistake, Miki Kujo's interest would be heightened. It didn't matter if she had feet or not. It was fake. Toru Watanabe was afraid that Rin Kiyono would find out. It was real, and then he wouldn't be able to quibble about liking legs. It was also fake. Fortunately, not long after, the people from the student council and two of the school's assigned activity instructors walked into Ali. Aona Koizumi was one of the instructors. No wonder she promised to make Toru Watanabe the chairman in his second year of high school. The teacher and the student exchanged glances. "Teacher, protect me. Teacher, protect you." Toru Watanabe understood. Then, Toru Watanabe turned his gaze to the student council president, whom he had never met before. She wasn't a young girl with the body of an elementary school student, nor was she blonde with wavy hair. She wasn't even long with straight black hair. She was just a very ordinary-looking girl. "Is everyone here? Then let's start the meeting." Facing so many people, the student council president's words were not weak at all. "Wait." Miki Kujo's right hand rested on the side of her face. Although she was sitting at the bottom, her aura was even stronger than the two instructors. No, it was even stronger than the principal whose whereabouts were unknown. The student council president looked at Miki Kujo's posture and frowned uncomfortably. What's the matter, Kujo-san? According to the procedure, shouldn't the chairman be chosen first? Miki Kujo spoke slowly as if she was talking to a subordinate. According to the usual practice, the student council president will be the chairman. According to the usual practice? Does that mean the school doesn't have a clear rule? No. The student council president paused. Does Kujo-san intend to be the chairman? Can't I? It's not that you can't, but you're a first year after all. You don't have as much understanding of Kanagawa High School's cultural festival as the second and third years do. As expected of the student council president. Ignoring ability and the fact that the second and third years were unwilling to be led by the first years, he only talked about experience. At this moment, many people present nodded in agreement. It would naturally save time and effort to organize an event with someone with enough experience. If it was a student council president with the support of the student council, it would naturally be more convenient. Miki Kujo stood up, crossed her arms, and walked to the front of the table. As she moved, the entire conference room was eerily quiet, like the eye of a typhoon. Understand? What's the use of that kind of thing? Follow the traditions left behind by a bunch of incompetent people. Toru Watanabe chose to shut himself up. Miki Kujo was his girlfriend. This was a well-known fact in the school. She was so arrogant, almost as arrogant as Toru Watanabe. Okay. Toru Watanabe also followed the principle of the capable go up. However, the incompetent people that Miki Kujo spoke of had even offended all the seniors who had passed away and had a certain social status in society. These people, it was fine if you looked down on their ability, but there was really no need to offend them. They didn't do anything. The student council president was clearly angered. He said in an unfriendly tone, Kujo-san, I know your family is very rich, but this is a school. I advise you to show some respect to your seniors. Miki Kujo wasn't angry at all. She smiled and said, What's your name? Where does your father work? Wait. Toru Watanabe hurriedly stood up. Chapter 124. The student council president ignored Toru Watanabe and questioned Miki Kujo. What is the meaning of this? Are you threatening me? Threatening you? Miki Kujo chuckled. Are you worthy? Bastard. The atmosphere in the room froze. Even Rin Kiyono couldn't help but raise her head. Everyone, please don't be fooled by the cute female characters Baka or Baka in the anime. It's just like fuck your mother. Sometimes it's a joke, and sometimes it's the opening line of a fight. At this time, there was no doubt that they had shed all pretense of cordiality. Miki Kujo's face turned cold. Her face was as beautiful as Rin Kiyono's, but when she turned cold, the meaning was completely different. Rin Kiyono's meaning was stop here, don't get close, stay away from me and shut up. But when Miki Kujo's face turned cold, it meant that someone was going to die. Toru Watanabe finally walked from the corner of the meeting room to the head of the table. He could understand the student council president. In Japan, it was normal for a senior to reprimand a junior. She was as naive as Toru Watanabe in the past. She thought that in the modern information society, even the rich wouldn't dare to do anything. This was probably the reason why she dared to cause trouble for the Human Observation Department. But Toru Watanabe had personally been killed once. He saw with his own eyes that Dr. Miyano of Shun Tensei University's affiliated hospital was killed. He also stopped a murder at the Shinagawa Aquarium. He knew very well that looking at a big family from an ordinary person's point of view was like an ancient farmer imagining an emperor using a golden hoe to farm. Not to mention, Miki Kujo was definitely the most vicious and merciless person in the chaebol. Toru Watanabe could see the word danger above the student council president's head. Persuading Miki Kujo to give in was a fool's dream. The only way to help the student council president was to stand by her side unconditionally and teach her a lesson. Student council president, it's not right to scold people, Toru Watanabe said. Seeing Toru Watanabe, the student council president didn't hold back. Is it right to talk back to a senior? Are you bullying your classmates just because you're rich? Just because your family is rich and powerful? You think you can ignore the school's rules? Of course not. Toru Watanabe couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, he was now Miki Kujo's boyfriend and had the mission of saving her life. Don't say such useless things. If you apologize to Miki, I'll forgive you today. What did you say? The student council president had an expression of disbelief. Watanabe. Aona Koizumi stood up and was about to walk over, but she was stopped by another elderly female teacher. Aona Koizumi looked at her in confusion. Tsunami-senpai. Dome whispered, I'll call the principal. Chingnai, don't interfere. Her tone was very strict, and Aona Koizumi subconsciously said, yes. I told you to apologize. Toru Watanabe ignored the tension in the meeting room and repeated. Is there something wrong with your head? You want me to apologize to her? The student council president's voice gradually sharpened. Do you think everyone is like you, willing to do anything for money? Toru Watanabe's personality suffered an unexpected calamity. Really, stop looking down on me. At least exchange the money for points. Money and points aside, the current situation was a little difficult. If the student council president kept targeting Miki Kujo, Toru Watanabe could pretend to be angry in order to save her, but if the conflict was shifted to him, he wouldn't quarrel with others over such things. But no matter what, he had to make Miki Kujo give up on the idea of killing someone. Toru Watanabe said sorry to the student council president in his heart. Money? Who are you looking down on? If you're as rich as Miki, I'll look down on you too. Why don't you take a look at what you look like? Radish legs, frighteningly fierce eyes, no breasts, waist. 2 circles when you sit down, right? Silence. Toru Watanabe felt the judgmental looks of this must be scum from the people around him. Only Miki Kujo was chuckling happily. The student council president came back to her senses. Being attacked by Toru Watanabe in front of so many people. She was so angry that she almost lost her mind. Her body was trembling. Bastard, what did you say? I said you're ugly. The student council president screamed, reaching out her hand to slap Toru Watanabe's face. The 2 student council members beside her quickly held their president back. Although the other party was asking for a beating, they had always been good students and wouldn't take the initiative to hit someone. Toru Watanabe ignored the student council members and turned to the people of all grades in the meeting room. Miki as the president, who has any objections? Everyone was silent. Most of them weren't interested in the president to begin with, so they wouldn't say anything now. It was great that no one jumped out. Toru Watanabe really didn't want to scold anyone anymore. He was loaded with a dating system, so why was he always on the path of attacking girls personally? He might as well have given an anti-routine system like, scold girls, and you'll become stronger. Since no one has any objections, I hope that everyone will seriously obey President Miki's arrangements during the cultural festival. I object. The student council president's sharp voice came from behind. Toru Watanabe turned around and slapped her. The sound of the slap was exceptionally loud, making people wonder if it would break someone. It didn't hurt, but it looked fierce. Using master-level kickboxing on this was an unprecedented path. Any other objections? Toru Watanabe asked. The student council president was stunned, unable to react to the fact that she had been slapped. A student council member said loudly, "How could you hit someone?" Toru Watanabe didn't waste any time and slapped that person again. The sound was so loud that the others subconsciously trembled and couldn't help but narrow their eyes. "Ah!" The student council president let out a shrill cry. "You dare hit, slap. I slap." The student council president finally stopped talking. With tears in her eyes, she stared at Toru Watanabe as if she wanted to kill him. "Any other objections?" Toru Watanabe asked. "I don't agree." The student council president covered her face and said angrily. Toru Watanabe sighed helplessly in his heart. He wondered if he should hit her until it hurt. "What's going on?" The principal's calm voice couldn't hide his anxiety. The other students breathed a sigh of relief, and the two instructors hurried to greet him. The principal ignored them and walked straight over, looking at Miki Kujo, who seemed to be uninvolved. Miki Kujo didn't give the principal any face. Not only did she not say a word, she didn't even look at him. In her heart, no matter what she did, as long as the other party scolded her, it would be the other party's fault. If the other party didn't scold her, it would be the other party's fault. The old principal's face gradually turned awkward, but because he was the principal and knew more, he didn't dare to treat Miki Kujo like a student who didn't care about social status. He saw himself as an employee, a subordinate. "Principal, they're hitting people," the student council members said loudly. Only then did the principal notice that two people were covering their faces. He hurriedly looked at Miki Kujo. Seeing that she was fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. But he immediately felt troubled. If it was a staff member who had a conflict with the daughter of the Kujo family, he wouldn't have to ask anything and would just expel them. But now that they were students, it wasn't appropriate to use social methods. Toru Watanabe saw that he was in a difficult position and said, "Miki wanted to try for the position of chairman, and everyone agreed. However, the student union president had some objections and even scolded us, so I beat them up. She disrespected her seniors first. The Human Observation Department only respects capable people." Toru Watanabe glanced at the student council president. "My Miki is in charge of hundreds of billions of dollars of assets. What right do you have for her to respect you? Just because you're 2 years older? Are you saying that you don't even respect the principal?" The student council president's words, which he thought were clever, made Toru Watanabe feel very awkward, and so did the principal opposite him. Miki Kujo crossed her arms and remained silent, looking at the two calmly. "So, yes, as long as the principal isn't as capable as us, we'll only respect him, but we'll definitely not follow his rules." This was Toru Watanabe's limit. "Well said." The principal nodded happily, and put on the magnanimity of an elder. "Our school values the ability of our students. As long as they're outstanding enough, the school rules can be changed for them." Toru Watanabe almost became friends with this old man. But there was a fundamental difference between their standpoints. Toru Watanabe was trying to save people, while the principal was really protecting the capitalists. After the principal expressed his attitude, he turned to comfort the student council president, who was shocked to the point of being dazed. "Ida-san, you were elected as the student council president because of your outstanding ability. If you think you're more capable than others, I fully support you, but other people are more capable than you. You can't bully the lower grades with your status as the student council president and senior." Ignoring the student council president, who was speechless, the principal said to everyone, "This matter is not up to me, but everyone. Now let's vote. Those who oppose Kujo-san to be the president, please raise your hand." "I oppose." The student council president subconsciously shouted out. "One vote against," the principal said calmly. The other two members of the student council, even under the threatening eyes of the president, didn't raise their hands. "It seems," the principal was about to conclude, but at this time another voice came. "I also oppose." The principal's eyebrows trembled. Looking at the Kiyono family's daughter who raised her hand, the frown on his forehead became even tighter. Damn Toru Watanabe, he can't even deal with the other daughter. No matter what he says, everyone agrees. Looking at the silent principal, Toru Watanabe could completely understand his dilemma. He took a step forward and glared at Rin Kiyono, who was smiling. "2 votes against. Is there anyone else?" "No." "Now those who agree with the student council president to be the president, please raise your hand." "No, 0 votes. Then the president of this school festival will be." "Wait a minute." Rin Kiyono stood up. "I also want to apply for the position of president. I don't know if I'm capable enough." "Just you?" After the same level appeared, Miki Kujo finally spoke. "With your ability, you can only sign contracts and talk business like a lie detector. Yeah, some people think they're capable, but it seems like they've never been able to take advantage of me. Even your own family despises you, and you've never talked about a billion-dollar business deal by yourself. And you dare to say you're capable? You brought a group of students to the national competition, and it seems like you still relied on my Watanabe." Saying something like that means you're not capable enough. And you actually said that a consultant is less important than a musician? I advise you to listen to more classical music when you talk business. It was over. The two of them were at it again. The principal looked at Toru Watanabe and asked him to think of a solution. Toru Watanabe gave him a look that said, "Don't look at me, I can't do anything." Kujo Kiyono. Aona Koizumi, the consultant of the Human Observation Department, rushed into the minefield. This gave Toru Watanabe a fright. At this time, Aona Koizumi was biased towards Miki Kujo, and Rin Kiyono didn't care about this at all. But if she was biased towards Rin Kiyono, or even neutral, she might be targeted by Miki Kujo. He hurriedly said, "Kiyono, stop fooling around. Didn't you come here to avoid class activities? Why are you looking for trouble?" Rin Kiyono glared at Toru Watanabe with dissatisfaction. "People change their minds, Watanabe. I've told you this before. But you changed too quickly. Are you unhappy about something?" "I'm not unhappy about anything, but you're obviously targeting Miki." "I am targeting her, is that not okay?" Rin Kiyono said frankly. "We're all in the same club, why bother? Besides, have you forgotten that we still have a movie to shoot? That's right, we're all classmates, it's most important to get along well." The principal, who just said that Kamigawa was a place of strength, tried to persuade her. The executive committee members from all grades and classes looked at Toru Watanabe and the principal as if they were looking at trash. There was no need to wait until Monday. The two of them would definitely be known throughout Kamigawa for bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Toru Watanabe would be even worse off. He personally attacked the president of the student union, beat someone up in public, and only got together with Miki Kujo for money and beauty. His reputation might even be so bad that he would never be able to receive a love letter from the shoe cabinet again. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly. Of course, getting along well wasn't part of her considerations, but the movie shooting schedule was tight, and she also had to teach the students how to play the piano. "Forget it, I'll let you have your way." She brushed her long hair behind her shoulder. Miki Kujo laughed disdainfully. No matter what, the matter with the chairman was finally settled. And as long as the president of the student union didn't go against Miki Kujo, his life shouldn't be in danger. The remaining time of the meeting was to assign specific groups: media publicity, personnel coordination, material management, healthcare, accounting review, and so on. There was also a group for chores. At this time, those who chose chores with the idea of slacking off were all idiots. What were chores? They were everything. So in order to slack off, they had to choose a group with the clearest division of labor, so that those who liked to ask others for help couldn't take advantage of it, such as the accounting review. For Toru Watanabe, who ranked third in science, reviewing budgets didn't require much brain power, and it was also something that didn't require physical strength, so it was definitely a good place to slack off. After looking at the information and some simple thinking, everyone quieted down and went into the specific groups. First, personnel coordination. Miki Kujo, who was sitting at the head of the table and starting the meeting, said, 5 people from the 3rd grade. What happened to the voluntary participation? Miki Kujo didn't care about this. Under her gaze, 5 people from the 3rd grade raised their hands. It was obvious that the goal wasn't to coordinate from the beginning. Material management, 3 men, 3 women. The grouping was smoothly carried out in a semi-forced manner. Accounting review, 2 people. Toru Watanabe was the first to raise his hand, followed by Rin Kiyono. Toru Watanabe glanced at her. Looks like we're on the same page this time, Kiyono. Rin Kiyono turned her face away and didn't look at him. Miki Kujo looked up from the list in her hand and said casually, Watanabe, follow me and help me. Add 1 more person for the accounting review. In the end, they still ended up doing chores. After the work allocation, Miki Kujo confirmed the time of the next meeting. Each group stayed behind to decide on their own leader. Everyone wasn't very enthusiastic. Originally, at this time, the 3rd grade should naturally be the leader, but the 3rd grade refused, saying that ability was the most important thing, and then forced the 2nd grade and 1st grade to take the position. The leader was going to be directly related to the chairman. Only a fool would go. The 2 girls in the accounting review team said a few words and decided that Rin Kiyono would be the leader. Rin Kiyono walked out of the meeting room and happened to meet Toru Watanabe, who had just come out of the toilet. Watanabe-san, I didn't expect that you who are full of lies would be a kind person. Toru Watanabe shook his hands that had just washed and sighed. I'm afraid that Kiyono-san is the only one who thinks that I'm kind now. I think so. Rin Kiyono couldn't help but smile. You're the same as me now. Except for each other, we can't be understood by anyone else. Me and you? What's going on? You want to pursue me when I'm depressed? I'm sorry, I'm not such a haggard person. I don't care what others think of me, so you won't have the chance to take advantage of me. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and looked at his face motionlessly. Toru Watanabe was a little uncomfortable. What? Being looked at by a beautiful girl with 9 points of charm was a very bad thing for the regular beating of the heart. I'm thinking, before Toru Watanabe died, would he be disfigured by the murderer because he was handsome? Rin Kiyono said in a light tone. I'm wrong, I'm shameless, it's my attitude that's wrong. Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at him, turned around and walked toward the club building, her pleated skirt fluttering in the wind. Toru Watanabe looked at her back as she walked away. He originally wanted to ask what was going on with his own family, but in the end he didn't ask. If he knew more, whether it was alienation or closeness, it wasn't what he wanted right now. He felt that there was nothing wrong with maintaining the status quo. He liked the feeling of distance between the two of them, which was neither close nor far. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.